Chapter 4076. Let's go. Let's go to Zhongzhou first. The white-eyed wolf opened a space-time tunnel. Li Feng chuckled and swept the three of them toward the space-time tunnel. No, please, I beg you, just kill us. Jiang Zishan's face was as pale as a sheet. Just thinking about how she was going to be surrounded by countless people in such a manner, she couldn't help but feel her scalp tingle. It's not up to you if you want to die. Li Feng sneered. They were about to enter the space-time tunnel. Jiang Zishan could no longer hold back the fear in her heart and shouted, I'll give it to you. I'll also give you my ultimate profoundness. I only ask that you give me a quick death. Jiang Zishan's compromise completely destroyed Jiang Xing's last line of defense. The white-eyed wolf and the others looked at each other and smiled. It would have been better if they had done this earlier. They had to force them to use this method. Li Feng let go of the two of them. The two of them were unwilling to give up and forcibly extracted their ultimate profoundness. Jiang Xing's was the space-time law and the karma law. Jiang Zishan's was the time law and the devouring law. As the two ultimate profoundness were extracted, their cultivation instantly fell to the greater mastery sovereign realm. Their faces were pale. Looking at the four ultimate profoundness, Mu Qing's eyes shone brightly. This was not an ordinary law, but an ultimate law. Not to mention four ultimate profoundness, even if it was only one ultimate law, as long as it was successfully integrated, it could instantly make a person soar to the sky. Below. Bing Runing looked at this scene with envy, jealousy, and hatred. In just a short while, they had obtained four ultimate profoundness. If it were her, she would wake up smiling. How hateful. How could the people of the Divine Kingdom be so useless? Last time, Ryuko's group, and now Jiang Yunshuang's group were the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom. But in front of Qin Feiyang and the others, they were like trash. She originally thought that Qin Feiyang and the others would die in the hands of the people of the Divine Kingdom sooner or later. Then, she would be able to watch a good show. But now, it seemed that she was just wishful thinking. Haha, thank you, thank you. The white-eyed wolf laughed and put away the four ultimate mysteries. He turned to Jiang Yunshuang and said, What about you? Do you want to hand over the ultimate profound or take you for a stroll? Jiang Yunshuang's face darkened. He gloomily looked at the white-eyed wolf, then at Mu Qing and Li Feng. He said bitterly, You'll suffer retribution sooner or later. After saying that, with a thought, the three great laws appeared. These were the laws of time, the laws of destruction, and the laws of death that she had mastered. His cultivation instantly dropped to the small success sovereign realm. Seeing this, the smile on the white-eyed wolf's face became bigger. He grabbed the three ultimate Upanishads and bared his teeth. I don't know if it's retribution or not. I only know that this time, I will take it back with interest. Jiang Yunshuang clenched his fists. The white-eyed wolf disdainfully looked at Li Feng and said, Since they have already handed over the inheritance, then don't make things difficult for them. Find them some clothes to wear and treat them well. The word treat was especially emphasized. Understood. Li Feng smirked. Devil's Land. Tea Garden. Done. Qin Feiyang chuckled. With a wave of his hand, the image in the void dissipated. Mu Qianyang's face was also full of smiles. Young master, your method is still the most effective. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang laughed. Although it was a bit shameless, the effect was really good. It immediately took care of the three of them. People in the world actually have weaknesses. The weakness of Jiang Yunshuang and the other two is that their self-esteem is too strong. Letting them appear in front of people naked is definitely more painful than torturing them. So, if you encounter such a situation in the future, you have to take the right medicine. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Understood. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang nodded, their faces full of admiration. They felt that the man in front of them seemed to be omnipotent. Swish. Before his voice died away, the white-eyed wolf and Mu Qing returned. "Huh, this is really too satisfying." The white-eyed wolf couldn't stop laughing. Thinking of Jiang Yunshuang's arrogance in the sky cloud realm and comparing it with his current appearance, it was really satisfying. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Looking at Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang, he said with a smile, "The ultimate profound has been obtained. You can arrange it yourself." "Arrange it ourselves?" Mu Qing was taken aback. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and asked puzzledly, "Do you want me to help arrange it?" "This," Mu Qing laughed dryly and said, "it's all because of you that we can obtain these 7 ultimate profound. What qualifications do we have to arrange it? You're treating me like an outsider." "As I said, the next ultimate profound will belong to you and Dong Xingyang." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. This, Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang looked at each other, their eyes extremely complicated. One had to know. Qin Feiyang not only had a large number of subordinates around him, but also his relatives such as the Mermaid Princess and Fire Lotus. If it were someone else, they would definitely prioritize their relatives and subordinates around them. But now, Qin Feiyang actually prioritized them? They were once enemies. Was this Qin Feiyang's character? Without the slightest selfishness. It was indeed admirable. You can arrange the ultimate profound by yourselves. Now, open your heavenly eye and help me find the whereabouts of the Divine King, the sovereign of the human race, the monarch. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and said, "Okay." Mu Qing nodded and immediately opened his heavenly eye. In his eyes, a floating island could be vaguely seen. This was the Island of God. The current Island of God had been restored to its original state. Somewhere on the island, a woman was leaning on a chair. She was rubbing her forehead. She seemed to be very irritated. The Divine King is on the Island of God. After Mu Qing finished speaking, he checked the whereabouts of the monarch and the sovereign of the human race. The evolved heavenly eye indeed had the ability to reach the heavens. No one would be able to hide from him. Very soon, Mu Qing saw the whereabouts of the monarch and the sovereign of the human race, and said, "The sovereign of the human race is at Mount Supreme. As for the monarch, that place is very unfamiliar. He should be in the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan's territory." "They're not together?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Logically speaking, after such a big thing happened, the 3 giants should have gathered together to discuss countermeasures. Moreover, only by gathering together could they deal with their attacks. But now, they had returned to their own territory. They didn't want to encircle and annihilate them anymore. Right now, they probably have no other choice. Mu Tianyang shook his head and smiled. Because the monarch and the others didn't know where they were hiding. Nor did they know their next move. As the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. If they didn't even know where they were, how could they set up a trap to encircle them? Moreover, they had no relatives or friends in the Divine Kingdom, and there was nothing to threaten them with. In short, as long as Qin Feiyang and the others successfully stepped into the Divine Kingdom, they would be able to instantly turn the passive into the active. At this time, Li Feng came through the air and landed in the tea garden. "How is it?" White-eyed Wolf asked. "Of course, we will continue to suppress them in the Soul-Sealing Valley." Li Feng smiled, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Qin Dage, when do you plan to make a deal with the Divine King?" "The deal is not urgent. Moreover, now that their battle souls and ultimate profound have been taken away, the Divine King may not make a deal with us. First, check the whereabouts of the other 3 strongest battle souls." Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at Mu Qing. It's easy to check them, but first, I need to know their names or what they look like." Mu Qing said. "We know that." Qin Feiyang smiled. When he was discussing with Long Chen and Long Qin had projected their appearances. As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, the the shadows of Ji Shaoi and another man and woman immediately appeared in the void. Mu Qing looked at the three of them and opened his all-seeing eye again. But soon he frowned. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Mu Qing didn't answer and continued to check. Chapter 4077. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, "Give them the ultimate profoundness. Let's go out for a walk." All of them? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The white-eyed wolf was somewhat reluctant. Li Feng glanced at Mu Qing and asked, "Qin Dage, you seem to have mastered the ultimate profoundness of the 5 ultimate laws?" Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He had already calculated earlier. Together with the ultimate profoundness of the life and death laws, he had exactly 5 ultimate profoundness of the 5 ultimate laws. In that case, why don't you integrate another ultimate profoundness of the ultimate law and see if another will of the heavenly Tao can descend? Li Feng suggested. That makes sense. Anyway, there are now 7 ultimate profoundness of the ultimate laws. Even if you integrate one, Mu Tianyang or Mu Qing can still master the will of the heavenly Tao. The white-eyed wolf also nodded in agreement. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang could not help but be tempted. If another will of the heavenly Tao descended, his strength would undoubtedly soar by a large margin. Hence, Qin Feiyang cast his gaze toward Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang. You were the one who captured them and you were the one who found ways to get the ultimate profoundness. Of course, we have no objections if you want to integrate them. Moreover, if another will of the heavenly Tao descends and your strength increases, it will be very beneficial to us in the future. Mu Tianyang smiled faintly. In that case, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "Then I will integrate an ultimate profoundness of the time law." Jiang Xing was the space-time law and the karma law. Jiang Zishan was the time law and the devouring law. Jiang Yunshuang was the time law, the death law, and the destruction law. In other words, the time law was repeated. After Qin Feiyang chose the law of time, the remaining law of spacetime, the law of karma, the law of devour, the law of death, the law of destruction, and the law of time were just enough to create an expert who could control the will of heaven. Since Qin Feiyang wanted it, the white-eyed wolf naturally wouldn't say anything. He immediately took out the law of time and handed it to Qin Feiyang. As for the remaining 6 great laws, he glanced at Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang and snorted coldly, "You guys got lucky." After saying that, he handed it over to the 2 of them. Mu Tianyang chuckled. Mu Qing was also full of smiles. "Then let's fuse the laws first. After that, we'll go look for the sovereign of the human race." Qin Feiyang stood up and said with a smile. "Yes. Actually, after causing such a big commotion this time, it's also good for us to disappear for a while. If that's the case, the monarch and the others won't be able to figure out what exactly we are planning." Mu Tianyang said. "That's right." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Then, he turned and walked toward the ancient castle. The white-eyed wolf and Li Feng also followed him. Li Feng asked, "Brother Wolf, why don't you fuse with these inheritances first?" "Fuse with these inheritances first?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. What did he mean? Li Feng said, "You can fuse with these inheritances first. When the seal on your iron box is unlocked, you can give it to them." "So that's what you're talking about." "I want to. But the inheritances I got this time don't contain the ultimate meaning of the law of life at all. Now, I only lack the law of life and the law of destruction. If I fuse with the law of destruction now, I won't be able to master the will of the great path without the law of life. Forget it. I won't compete with them. I don't want them to say that we're bullying them." It wasn't easy for little Qin Zi and Mu Qing to shake hands and make peace. "We can't make a scene again because of a small matter." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. I really didn't expect you to have such a big picture view. Li Feng looked as if he had discovered a new continent. Get lost. The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf, turned to look at Li Feng, and said with a chuckle, "This proves that your brother wolf has grown up. You're still in the mood?" The white-eyed wolf scowled. The ultimate meaning of the 6 strongest laws. Could he be more generous to give it to Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang just like that? Just thinking about it made his heart ache. Take it easy. You've seen Mu Qing's all-seeing eye now. With him helping us in the future, we'll be like a tiger that has grown wings. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Even so, I still feel a little distressed. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. How can there be gains without effort? Let's talk about it later. Isn't there a lot of people in the divine kingdom who have mastered the ultimate meaning of the strongest laws? Qin Feiyang patted the white-eyed wolf's shoulder and smiled meaningfully. The white-eyed wolf froze for a moment, and then his eyes glowed green. That's right. Although there were only a few people in the sky cloud realm who had mastered the ultimate meaning of the strongest laws, the divine kingdom didn't lack such people at all. Not to mention Mount Supreme, the divine island, and the purple gold divine dragon clan's ancestral land, even the major cities could easily find a few people who had mastered the ultimate meaning of the strongest laws. As long as they had the ability to capture these people and force them to hand over the ultimate meaning, not to mention 6, even 60 would be a piece of cake. The most important thing was, this kind of plundering not only strengthened their strength, but also weakened the divine kingdom's strength. It could be said to be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This time, the white-eyed wolf was excited. Maybe in the future, the people around them could also master the will of the heavenly Tao. Qin Dage, after Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, and Dong Xingyang master the will of the heavenly Tao, shouldn't you think about sister-in-law? Li Feng asked with a smile. Yes. All these years, I have indeed owed your sister-in-law too much. I will definitely think of her first in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. And my wife, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly said. I know. Qin Feiyang looked at him helplessly. He was afraid that he would forget about fire dance. Women were the support of men, the spiritual support. Therefore, whether it was the mermaid princess, fire dance, Zhuo Xiaoxian, or fire lotus, he had to take care of them first. To be more selfish, if it weren't for the fact that Mu Qing and the others had mastered the strongest battle soul and could unleash super strength, he would definitely take care of the mermaid princess and the others first. In the tea garden, Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing sat opposite each other. Mu Tianyang pondered for a moment, looked at Mu Qing, and asked, "What do you think we should do with the 6 ultimate laws?" I think, Mu Qing lowered her head and thought for a moment, then looked up at Mu Tianyang and said, "I want to say it, don't be angry. I think we should give it to Dong Xingyang first." Mu Tianyang was not angry. On the contrary, he was very gratified. Because at least this proved that Mu Qing had recognized her mistake and wanted to make it up to Dong Xingyang. Frankly speaking, Mu Tianyang had always been brooding about Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian and could not let go. Qin Batian destroyed his Tianyang empire. Qin Feiyang destroyed his Mu family single-handedly and killed his woman, Shen Mei. But these were 2 different things. He had always been grateful to Dong Xingyang. Therefore, when Mu Qing wanted to scheme against Dong Xingyang, he strongly opposed it. You won't object, right? Mu Qing was a little nervous. Why would I? Let's go. Let's go find Dong Xingyang now. Mu Tianyang chuckled, got up, and walked toward a courtyard not far away with the 6 ultimate laws. In the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang sat cross-legged in the cultivation room, took out the inheritance of the time law, and began to meditate. This was equivalent to an inheritance. And to integrate the inheritance, one must first master this law. In short, first of all, Qin Feiyang had to comprehend the time law before he could integrate this inheritance. Although he had not mastered the time law yet, this inheritance contained all of Jiang Yunshuang's understanding and experience of the time law. And this time law inheritance was Jiang Yunshuang's. So, as long as one was not a fool, one could easily comprehend it, let alone Qin Feiyang, who had unlocked the door of potential. In the courtyard where Dong Zhengyang was. In the hall. After listening to the purpose of Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing's visit, Dong Zhengyang looked at Mu Qing and was very pleased. What he was most worried about was that Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang would fall out with Qin Feiyang and the others after their fighting souls evolved. One had to know. The strongest fighting soul before and after its evolution were two completely different concepts. It was no exaggeration. Now if Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang betrayed everyone and went to Ice Dragon or the Divine Kingdom, then whether it was Ice Dragon or the people of the Divine Kingdom, they would immediately spend a lot of money to train them. They would even treat them as VIPs. But fortunately, what he was worried about did not happen. Especially Mu Qing. He could tell that no matter if it was him or Qin Feiyang and the others, Mu Qing no longer had any enmity towards them. Looking at the 6 Tao laws, Dong Zhengyang smiled and said, "The ultimate profound of the 6 Tao laws is really tempting. But my eye of destiny has not evolved. Even if I have mastered the will of heaven, the combat power I can unleash is limited. I appreciate your kindness, but you can merge with it." This, Mu Qing and Mu Tianyang looked at each other. In the face of such temptation, how could they reject it? These people were really open-minded. Suddenly, even they felt that they were too narrow-minded in the past. Dong Zhengyang pondered for a while and smiled. "I have a suggestion. Mu Qing, you can listen to it. Of course, it is just a suggestion. Don't think too much. Go ahead." Mu Qing looked at him. Dong Zhengyang said with a smile, "Actually, your ancestor will benefit the most from fusing these 6 Dharma laws, because his evil eye can be used to kill enemies on the battlefield. As for your all-seeing eye, although it's heaven-defying, it's only an auxiliary ability. It's not very useful in killing enemies on the battlefield." Heard about it? Mu Qing pondered for a while and nodded. That seems to be the case. Outside the battlefield, the all-seeing eye was invincible. It could see everything in the world. But on the battlefield, the all-seeing eye was basically useless. But the evil eye was different. During a battle, the evil eye could control the enemy's 7 emotions and 6 desires. It could control the enemy's thoughts and even turn them into puppets. This was especially true in a life-and-death battle. It could play a crucial role. Anyway, even if you don't master the will of heaven, it will not affect your all-seeing eye. So I suggest letting your ancestor merge with it first. Of course, this depends on your own thoughts. Dong Zhengyang smiled. There is nothing to think about. It's decided then. Mu Qing waved his hand and said. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that Mu Tianyang was his ancestor, he couldn't possibly snatch it from Mu Tianyang. Chapter 4078. Time flew by. 2 years passed. In these 2 years, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't do anything, but their deeds had been spreading. They broke into the Divine Kingdom, carried away the gate of the Divine Kingdom, looted 51 cities, and then killed their way into the Divine Island, kidnapped Jiang Yunshuang and the 3 evildoers, looted the Spirit Vein and Crystal Vein of the Divine Mountain, and destroyed the Divine Island, causing the Divine Clan to suffer a great loss. Most importantly, he had played the monarch, the Divine King, and the supreme being of the human race like fools. No matter which one of these things, it was enough to shake the world. The Divine Kingdom hadn't been so lively for a long time. In these 2 years, the monarch and the other 2 had gathered together to discuss more than once. The topic of discussion was undoubtedly Qin Feiyang and the others. For 2 whole years, this group of people had disappeared without a trace. This was too unusual. What were they planning? Every day, they were on tenterhooks. They were afraid that Qin Feiyang and the others would run out the next moment and cause a big commotion. This kind of anxiety made them extremely tired. especially the monarch. 2 years had passed, and his face was full of stubble. He was worried all day long, as if he had aged dozens of years. Because he was under the most pressure. As the monarch of the divine kingdom, he had to bear the responsibility of maintaining the order of the divine kingdom. The more trouble Qin Feiyang and the others caused, the greater the damage to the divine kingdom, and the greater his responsibility would be. 10,000 years had passed. Once the ruler of the divine kingdom came out, he, as the monarch, would naturally be blamed. He didn't have to think for himself, but he had to think for the entire Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. If the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan fell into eternal damnation because of him, then he would be the sinner of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan for eternity. On this day, the North Continent. The monarch changed his usual style and wore plain clothes. He looked like an ordinary villager as he entered a remote mountain. Deep in the mountain, there was a small village. There were only 10 households in the village. But the strange thing was, there wasn't even a young man here. There wasn't even a middle-aged man. They were all old men and women in their 50s. There were only about 10 of them. They were also very plain. Some were basking in the sun, some were playing chess, some were drinking tea, and some were fishing by the river in front of the village. It was peaceful and tranquil, and life was incomparably comfortable. In the distance, the monarch looked at the village in the mountains with awe in his eyes. Very soon, he came to the opposite side of the river in front of the village. Beside the river, there was an old man in a linen robe. His face was old, and his hair was mottled with white. He sat on a small stool, and in front of him were 2 self-made fishing rods. "Little Wang, you're here." The old man looked at the monarch with a kind smile on his face. The monarch took a deep breath and walked up to the old man. He bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, second master." "Little Wang. What are you doing here in our small village? We don't have any good wine or dishes to entertain you." The elders in the village all noticed the king and started to tease him. Hearing this, the monarch was like a child. With a wry smile on his face, he said, "Can you not laugh at me? I don't come here for no reason." The group of elders heard this and smiled at each other. "I knew you would come." One of the old ladies laughed hoarsely. "You knew?" The monarch was stunned. "Yes. Although we live in seclusion here, we have also been paying attention to the divine kingdom." The old lady nodded. "Then, second young mistress, please enlighten me." The monarch bowed and said, "Don't look for an old lady like me. Go to Old Nine. Old Nine is famous for having a lot of ideas." The old lady waved her hand. "Then where is Old Nine?" The monarch glanced at the village and asked. "The back of the mountain." The old lady pointed to the mountain behind the village. It was a mountain about 10,000 feet high. The vegetation was lush, and the scenery was beautiful. All kinds of bird cries could be heard from afar. "Then I'll go to Old Nine." The monarch looked at the group of elders and said with a smile. He immediately walked to the back of the mountain. The back of the mountain. At the top of the mountain. There was a tea garden here. Every tea tree emitted a hazy divine light. The monarch had only climbed halfway up the mountain when he could already smell the rich tea fragrance. That's right. The monarch walked up step by step as if he was on a pilgrimage. Because this village was the holy land in his heart. Each of the elders who lived here had heaven-defying abilities, and they were his last resort. After a while, the monarch finally reached the top of the mountain. He immediately saw an old man who was over 70 years old standing alone in the tea garden. He held a clean towel in his hand and carefully wiped every tea leaf. "Old 9G, the monarch murmured and quickly walked into the tea garden. He bowed and said, "Unfilial descendant, Ji Yunwang, greets Old 9. Old 9G turned to look at the monarch and asked with a smile, "Aren't you staying in the ancestral land? What are you doing here?" Old 9G is asking the obvious. The monarch was helpless. Old 9G smiled faintly and did not answer. He continued to wipe the tea leaves on the tree. The monarch did not dare to disturb him. He stood silently at the side like a reserved child. After a long time, old 9G finally finished his work. He turned and walked to a stone table not far away. The monarch hurriedly followed. "Have a seat." Old 9G sat in front of the stone table. He greeted the monarch and began to make tea. If Qin Feiyang was here, he would definitely be reluctant to leave. Because this tea garden was full of divine tea trees. Okay. The monarch nodded and sat across from old 9G obediently. While making tea, old 9G asked with a smile, "Little Wang, this old man knows why you are here, but this old man wants to ask you first. What do you think of the purple gold dragon blood?" This, the monarch did not know how to answer for a moment. Actually, as purple gold divine dragons, we all have the same idea as you. We purple gold divine dragons are the noblest divine beasts. Mating with humans is blasphemy to our purple gold divine dragon clan. But, when we heard the rumors about Qin Feiyang and Qin Badian, we all discussed it seriously. Maybe our ideas are too old-fashioned. Old 9G sighed. What do you mean by that? The monarch was surprised. Old 9G looked up at the sky. His eyes flashed and he said telepathically, "This old man means that our purple gold divine dragon clan can try to accept Qin Feiyang and Qin Badian." The monarch was shocked. If the sovereign knew about this, the purple gold divine dragon clan would definitely be wiped out. You don't have to be surprised. This is not just this old man's idea. Although our purple gold divine dragon clan is powerful, we can't control our own fate. We should learn to resist and fight for ourselves. Of course. We also have to observe Qin Feiyang's potential. Does he have the ability to fight against the sovereign? In short, we can't be the sinners of the purple gold divine dragon clan. Do you understand? Old 9G telepathically said. The monarch nodded. He had made it so clear. How could he not understand? Old 9G smiled and said telepathically, "If there's a chance, ask Qin Feiyang and Qin Badian to come here. We old guys want to see the glory of these two young people with our own eyes." Okay. The monarch said. Are there any other questions? Old 9G asked. Yes. I've never understood what Qin Feiyang and the others' intentions are. The monarch looked suspicious. Intentions? Old 9G shook his head and laughed. You're too involved to see clearly. The monarch was stunned and hurriedly said, "Please enlighten me, old 9G." Old 9G asked, "Have Qin Feiyang and the others done anything outrageous since they came to the Divine Kingdom?" It seems, the monarch thought for a moment and frowned. Apart from the time when we were hunting them down and they hurt some innocent people, they didn't do anything outrageous. They didn't just do nothing. Even when they looted the 51 cities in the West Continent, they didn't hurt any innocent people. As for what happened on the Divine Island 2 years ago, it had no effect on the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan and the human race. In other words, they have never directly targeted the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan and the human race. Do you know why? Because Qin Feiyang is a human, so he doesn't want to attack the human race. And the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan has an inseparable relationship with Qin Feiyang, so he doesn't want to target us. So he chose the God race as his target. But he didn't really go all out against the Protoss. Otherwise, the entire direct line of descent and descendants of the Protoss would have been wiped out 2 years ago. After all, they have the ability to do so. Old 9G smiled. Makes sense. The monarch nodded. Ji Jiao picked up the teacup and sniffed it. He thought to himself, if I'm not wrong, their real goal should be that person. The monarch's heart trembled. It was so vague. Was there a need to guess? Obviously, he was referring to the ruler of the Divine Kingdom. Old 9G smiled. Little Wang, although you are the monarch of the divine kingdom, you have to admit that Qin Feiyang is more farsighted than you. These words made the monarch a little unconvinced. If you don't believe me, you can ask Qin Feiyang in person. He has definitely seen the situation and helplessness of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. And the only way to break out of our current predicament is to get rid of that person. In this way, the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, including the human race, the god race, the beast race, and the sea race, can be truly free. As long as we get rid of that person, the problem between the divine kingdom and the sky cloud realm will naturally be solved. Old 9G smiled secretly. The monarch's scalp went numb. He never thought that these young people were planning such a terrible plan. Getting rid of the ruler of the divine kingdom was a problem he didn't even dare to think about. Old 9G drank tea and suddenly seemed to think of something. He smiled secretly and said, "Before you leave Ji Shaoyi with us." Ah. The monarch looked at old 9G in astonishment. What was he up to this time? Jiang Yunshuang, Jiang Xing, and Jiang Zishan have fallen into their hands. The next target is naturally Ji Shaoyi, Lu Zhongtian, and Zhuang Mingyue. Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue are from the human race, so they have little to do with us. But Ji Shaoyi is the prodigy of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan, so we must protect him well. Let's talk about it later. If Qin Feiyang and the others know that Ji Shaoyi is with us, will they not come? Old 9G chuckled. So that's how it is. The monarch suddenly understood and said with a smile, "Indeed, leaving Ji Shaoyi here is safer than staying by my side. Then I'll leave the future to you." After that, he called Ji Shaoyi out of the spatial divine item. Chapter 4079. Black Tortoise Realm. 2 years in the outside world was more than 3 million years in the Black Tortoise Realm. After these years of development, the current Black Tortoise Realm was comparable to the size of 2 ancient realms. It could be said that it was getting stronger day by day. Of course. The strength of Qin Feiyang and the others was also soaring. Boom! Accompanied by a terrifying aura, the Time God's sword appeared above the ancient castle. The next moment, Qin Feiyang appeared from the ancient castle, and the aura he exuded was stronger than before. Because now, he had integrated the ultimate meaning of the time law. Other than the light law, all of them were the ultimate meaning of the strongest laws. In terms of quantity, he had already caught up to the king. This was because the monarch had also grasped the 7 ultimate mysteries. Moreover, in terms of quality, the king couldn't catch up. Although the king's 7 ultimate meanings were all the strongest laws, Qin Feiyang's life and death law ultimate meaning could fight 1 against 6. Following the appearance of the commotion, Frenzy, White-Eyed Wolf, Li Feng, and Mu Qing also ran out and looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. Qin Feiyang was also looking forward to it. However, after a long while, the will of heaven didn't descend from the sky. What's going on? Life and death law, life law, destruction law, cause and effect law, plus the current time law, aren't these the 6 strongest laws? Why didn't the will of heaven descend? Could it be that a person can only master 1 will of heaven in their life? Several people were surprised. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. Did they look forward to it for nothing? Wait. The life and death law has already surpassed the limit of the strongest laws. To be honest, it no longer belongs to the strongest laws. Could it be that one has to master another ultimate meaning of the strongest law? Frenzy frowned. White-Eyed Wolf, Li Feng, and Mu Qing were slightly stunned when they heard this. After thinking carefully, it seemed to make sense. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the Time God's sword dissipated. He landed in front of Frenzy and smiled bitterly. If that's the case, then there's still hope, but I'm afraid it will be for nothing. Don't be discouraged. After all, there is no precedent for this matter. We have to verify it ourselves. Madman bared his teeth. I'm not discouraged. If I really have to fuse another ultimate profundity, then I'll choose the law of spacetime. Seeing you guys open up the spacetime passageway and go wherever you want, I'm a little envious. Qin Feiyang looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf. Madman rolled his eyes. Your laws of darkness have already fused? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Of course. If not, would you be able to see me now? Madman smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then you are also a man who has mastered the six-path ultimate mysteries. You flatter me. Compared to you, I'm still lacking. Madman chuckled. But soon, he would catch up with Qin Feiyang. No, he had surpassed Qin Feiyang. Because now, he already had enough ultimate meaning in his hands, and he was just short of unsealing it. Once the seal was unraveled and the three ultimate laws of nature were fused together, he would be in control of the 9 ultimate mysteries. This was the rhythm of ascending to heaven. Just thinking about it made him excited. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing again and asked, You didn't fuse with the inheritance? No. Fuse with the ancestor first. Mu Qing shook his head. Qin Feiyang looked at him in surprise. He had really changed a lot. With a smile, he said, Then help me take a look. Where are the ruler of the divine kingdom, ice dragon, and small beast now? Okay. Mu Qing nodded and opened his all-seeing eye. A moment later. He was slightly taken aback, and his expression became strange. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at him in confusion. Mu Qing said in disbelief, They are actually in the Hell King's hell. What? Hell King's hell? Qin Feiyang and the others were also stunned. There's no mistake, they are in the Hell King's hell. And they are in the divine demon forest. Mu Qing said with certainty. This ice dragon and small beast are really capable. This ruler is not in the divine kingdom, so it will be much more convenient for us to do things in the future. Madman laughed loudly. Yes. In the future, we don't have to hide when we talk to the human race's sovereign and sovereign. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's not the point, okay? The white-eyed wolf opened his mouth and looked at Mu Qing in disbelief. Then what is the point? Qin Feiyang, Madman, Li Feng, and Mu Qing all looked at the white-eyed wolf in confusion. The point is that this guy's all-seeing eye can actually see Ice Dragon and the others in the Divine Kingdom. You have to know that the Divine Kingdom and the Sky Cloud Realm are 2 different worlds. The white-eyed wolf said. In other words, the all-seeing eye can ignore the existence of the world. No matter where the other party is, it can be seen. So this is what you are talking about. The all-seeing eye has no lethality. If its ability is not heaven-defying, can it be called the strongest battle soul? Moreover, I discovered this long ago. Only you are slow to realize it. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Discovered it long ago? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. Yes. The Black Tortoise Realm is also an independent world. Back then, he was able to spy on the whereabouts of the Divine King and the others in the Black Tortoise Realm. Doesn't that mean that he can ignore the existence of the world? In short, with the help of the all-seeing eye and the ruler being taken to the underworld by Ice Dragon and Small Beast, we can basically do whatever we want in the Divine Kingdom in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Makes sense. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. It seemed that this Mu Qing was still very valuable. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and said with a smile, Help me check the whereabouts of the monarch and the other 2, as well as Ji Shaoyi, Lu Zhongtian, and Zhuang Mingyue. Okay. Mu Qing opened the all-seeing eye again. This is too convenient. Li Feng muttered. It could be said that as long as Mu Qing was here, any conspiracy or encirclement would be useless against them. He finally understood why Qin Feiyang cared so much about Mu Qing, Mu Tianyang, Dong Zhengyang, and the demon ancestor. It was not an exaggeration to say that. With the help of these people, it was like a god helping them. Eh. Suddenly, a trace of surprise appeared on Mu Qing's face. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Strange. Mu Qing frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Let me take a closer look. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. After a while, Mu Qing frowned more and more. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others, he said, "It's really strange. The monarch, the human race, the divine king, Lu Zhongtian, and Zhuang Mingyue's positions have not changed, but Ji Shaoi is not in the monarch's spatial divine item. Not here? It can't be. Is the monarch not afraid that we will attack Ji Shaoi?" White-eyed Wolf was surprised. "This is what I don't understand." Mu Qing said. "Where is Ji Shaoi now?" Li Feng asked. "On a mountaintop surrounded by tea gardens and an old man." Mu Qing's eyes flickered as he looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed. "This place is a treasure for you." "What treasure?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "If my judgment is correct, the tea garden is full of divine tea trees." Mu Qing grinned. "It's all divine tea trees?" Qin Feiyang was shocked and asked, "Where is this place?" "I don't know. I haven't been there. I have to find someone to inquire about it." Mu Qing shook his head. "It's all divine tea trees." Mountaintop. Old man. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered, and his pupils suddenly shrank. Since the monarch can give Ji Shaoi to that old man without worry, it means that the old man's strength is beyond imagination. No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than us? Frenzy's face was full of disdain. "That's right. Even the monarch is no match for us, let alone a bad old man. Don't panic. Why don't we go find the human race's supreme being first? Maybe he knows where this place is?" White-eyed Wolf followed. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Mu Qing with a smile. "Then we will have to trouble you to go out with us." Right now, they must bring Mu Qing with them. This way, they can calmly deal with all the unknown changes. "It's my pleasure." Mu Qing smiled. Whoosh. The group of 5 retracted their auras and appeared on top of a mountain. Mount Supreme was right in front of them. Because back then, Qin Feiyang entered the Black Tortoise realm right after he came to Mount Supreme to gather information. Wait. If Mu Qing follows us, then we don't have to worry about the monarch and the divine king bringing people to surround us, right? Because he can always use his heaven's eye to spy on the monarch and the divine king's whereabouts. White-eyed Wolf scanned Mount Supreme and suddenly said, "Yeah. Once we find out that they are bringing people to surround us, we can just leave early. The people of Mount Supreme can't stop us anyway." Frenzy's eyes also lit up. The current Mu Qing was indeed an indispensable helper. Qin Feiyang also slapped his head. He actually overlooked this point. Back then, they were still thinking about how to lure the human race's sovereign out, but now they realized that there was no need for that. If that's the case, then let's directly charge into Mount Supreme? Li Feng asked. Hee hee. The madman grinned. He took a step forward and landed on the edge of Mount Supreme. Please. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and smiled. Don't worry. Mu Qing smiled and opened his heaven's eye to pay attention to the monarch and the divine king's movements. At the same time, as Qin Feiyang and the others appeared, the Great Venerable immediately stood up, as if he was facing a great enemy. Because the person guarding here was the Great Venerable of Mount Supreme. Don't be nervous. We were invited here as guests. Frenzy chuckled. The Great Venerable glanced at them and remained silent. What do you mean? Didn't you sovereigns ask the Third Venerable to invite us to Mount Supreme a while ago? Now that we're invited, this is your attitude? White-eyed Wolf raised his eyebrows. Actually, the Great Venerable couldn't be blamed. After disappearing for 2 years and suddenly appearing at Mount Supreme, no one would be able to remain calm. Senior, don't worry this time, we're not here to cause trouble. Qin Feiyang said with an amiable smile. The Great Venerable glanced at White-Eyed Wolf in frenzy, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Wait here, I'll inform Lord Supreme." "No need, just bring them in." At this moment, the human race's sovereign's voice came from the depths of the mountain. "Yes." The Great Venerable replied respectfully and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. With a wave of his hand, a barrier appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and the others, then a crack appeared on the barrier. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and stepped into the barrier. "Sovereign, hurry and inform the Divine King and the King to come and encircle them." "That's right. This is a good chance. As long as we delay them and wait for the Divine King and the King to come, then they'll be like turtles in a jar." While the Great Venerable led Qin Feiyang and the others into the depths of the mountain, the other venerables also sensed the aura of Qin Feiyang and the others and immediately communicated with their minds. However, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't know about these communications. Happy Lantern Festival. Today is the last day of the Spring Festival. I wish everyone a great success in the new year. At the same time, I'll resume the update tomorrow. Chapter 4080. Don't joke with us. There are so many people in Mount Supreme. Once the battle starts, there will be countless casualties. Besides, they kidnapped Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. The Eye of Heaven might have evolved by now. Once the Eye of Heaven evolves, nothing in the world can hide. That's right. With the Eye of Heaven, it's impossible to surround them. But some sovereigns objected. But this is a rare opportunity. Are we going to miss it? Some people weren't willing to give up. Stop arguing. Let's listen to what the Supreme says. The Great Sovereign said. The sovereigns were silent for a while. The human Supreme said, "Great Sovereign, stay next to them and observe carefully. See if any of them have opened the Eye of Heaven." When the Great Venerable heard this, he calmly glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other four. Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf. Needless to say, everyone knew about his battle soul. Although the people of the Divine Kingdom were familiar with Li Feng, they had never seen his battle soul. Mu Qing was also a stranger to the people of the Divine Kingdom. So the Great Sovereign focused on observing Li Feng and Mu Qing. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he did, he was startled. When his eyes met Mu Qing's, he immediately felt fear from the depths of his soul. Also, he felt like he was being watched, as if his clothes were being stripped off. That's right. This was the Eye of Heaven. As the Great Sovereign of the human race, he had of course seen Jiang Zishan, so he knew what the Eye of Heaven was. He was too nervous when facing Qin Feiyang, the madman and the white-eyed wolf, so he didn't pay attention to Mu Qing. Only now did he know that the owner of the Eye of Heaven was right next to them. We can't attack. The owner of the Eye of Heaven is right next to me. And now, he's opening the Eye of Heaven. It's very likely that he's spying on the Divine King and the King to prevent us from encircling them. The Great Sovereign hurriedly told the human Supreme and the other sovereigns about this. In that case, the all-seeing eye has really evolved. The Eye of Heaven, the Eye of Despair, and now the Eye of Heaven. How are we going to deal with them in the future? Don't forget. There's also the Evil Eye and the Life Eye. These two most powerful fighting souls are incredible. If the possessors of these strongest fighting souls join forces, I'm afraid that even if we can successfully encircle and annihilate them, we will have to pay a heavy price. The words of the martial highnesses were filled with fear. If only Long Qin was here. No matter what method the venerables used to communicate in secret, they could all hear it. Very soon. Majestic halls entered Qin Feiyang's and the others' line of sight. In front of every hall, there was a sea of people. They were all from Mount Supreme. There were enforcers, elders, and even disciples. That was right. Mount Supreme also had a large number of disciples. Each and every one of these disciples was a peerless genius. For example, the blue-haired youth and the others who appeared in the sky cloud realm were the monstrous disciples of Mount Supreme. Also, the hundreds of thousands of divine kingdom geniuses that Ryuko and the others brought to the sky cloud realm were mostly disciples of Mount Supreme. At this moment, there were many familiar faces here. Looking at Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf, and Li Feng in the sky, their eyes were filled with hatred. At the same time, looking at the foundation of Mount Supreme, Qin Feiyang and the others were also shocked. Because any one of these disciples could sense the aura of the ultimate profound. Although most of them only had the aura of the ultimate profound of ordinary laws, it was still shocking enough. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up as his gaze fell on the peak of a giant mountain not far away. At the peak of the mountain, more than a dozen young men and women were gathered. A few of them were familiar faces. They were the blue-haired youth and the other geniuses. So it's an old friend. Li Feng also chuckled. Everyone, how have you been? The madman waved his hand and greeted them warmly. The blue-haired youth and the others' faces darkened. Was he provoking them? Senior brother Wang Feng, senior sister Luo Dan, how can you tolerate this? A genius on the side looked at Wang Feng and the others and mocked. Wang Feng glanced at the genius and said gloomily, if you have the ability, then go ahead. We will definitely cheer for you here. But if you don't, then shut up. That genius's expression froze. Zhao Hong, don't talk about defeating them. As long as you have the courage to challenge them, I will admire you. Luo Dan also spoke. This Luo Dan was the woman in red that went to the sky cloud realm. She had mastered the three ultimate profound of death, thunder, and slaughter. In the past, with Luo Dan's strength, she could indeed pose a threat to Qin Feiyang and the others. But now, it was not worth mentioning. Hearing this, a cold light appeared in the eyes of the genius named Zhao Hong. You don't dare? Then what right do you have to laugh at us? At least when we were in the sky cloud realm, we still dared to fight them. Another young man in black sneered. This person was also one of the top 10 geniuses that went to the sky cloud realm. His name was Lu Sheng. Back then, he also suffered at the hands of Li Feng, Long Qin, and Yun Ziang. What a joke. I am a genius of Mount Supreme. How can I not even have the courage to challenge them? Open your eyes wide and watch how I challenge them. Zhao Hong sneered and stepped forward. He instantly appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. Wang Feng and the others were stunned. He actually went? How can there be such a stupid person? Although you didn't personally witness Qin Feiyang and the others' methods, there are plenty of rumors and deeds about them in the Divine Kingdom. Not to mention anything else, just these people alone killed their way into the island of the gods 2 years ago. Not only did they kidnap Jiang Yunshuang and the others, they even managed to retreat in front of the king and the others. This isn't something that you, Zhao Hong, can challenge. At the same time, the enforcers, disciples, and elders of Mount Supreme all looked at Zhao Hong in shock. What are you doing suddenly jumping out? Even the great venerables who were leading the way were caught off guard when they saw this scene. Not to mention Qin Feiyang and the other four. They didn't expect that someone would dare to block their way. Zhao Hong stood majestically in the air and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. I, Zhao Hong, a genius disciple of Mount Supreme, challenge you. Huh? The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. What the hell? Challenging us? Did I hear wrong? Where did this courage come from? The great venerable was stunned for a moment, then became furious. He glared at Zhao Hong and yelled, "What are you doing? Back off with me." Even he, the great venerable, didn't dare to challenge Qin Feiyang and the others. What are you, a disciple? Don't you have any self-awareness at all? Great venerable, this is where you are wrong. It's a good thing that you disciples of Mount Supreme have such courage. This is worth encouraging. Why are you lecturing him? The madman looked at the Great Venerable and chuckled. The Great Venerable's mouth twitched. Encouraging? He really wanted to slap such a stupid action. He said with a dark face, "He's just being immature. Please don't take it to heart." No, no. On the contrary, we admire him. The madman waved his hand and looked at Zhao Hong. He bared his teeth and said, "We've always promoted the virtue of helping others. Since you want to fight with us, then I'll do as you wish. Come." Zhao Hong glanced at the madman, then pointed at Mu Qing and said, "I want to challenge him." What? Mu Qing was stunned. Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf and Li Feng were also stunned. Even the Great Venerable, Wang Feng and the other geniuses looked at Zhao Hong in shock. Challenge this person? Wait. I don't think I've seen this person in the sky cloud realm before. Wang Feng, Luo Dan, Lu Sheng and the others looked at Mu Qing in shock. Just like the Great Venerable, they didn't know if they didn't look. But after looking, their faces were filled with shock. The all-seeing eye. He's the owner of the all-seeing eye? He's been hiding beside Qin Feiyang all this time. Back then, they held a friendly competition in the sky cloud realm to find the owners of the strongest battle souls. But they've never seen this person since the friendly competition was held. He's really good at hiding. Doesn't that mean the other owner of the all-seeing eye, Jiang Zishan, has died? Mu Qing came back to her senses and said in shock, "Did I hear wrong? Are you sure he's here to challenge me?" "Yes. He's here to challenge you. Maybe he thinks you're easier to bully." The madman chuckled. Mu Qing's face darkened. He really knows how to pick an opponent. "What do we do? Do you want to fight?" The madman laughed secretly. "I don't even have a single ultimate law, how can I fight?" Mu Qing rolled her eyes. In fact, she had also comprehended an ultimate law, but it was only an ordinary law. As a prodigy of Mount Supreme, Zhao Hong must have mastered the ultimate law, so she had no chance of winning. But now, if she didn't dare to accept the challenge in front of everyone, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? If he wants to challenge you, you just have to accept it. Qin Feiyang transmitted her voice. Huh? Mu Qing looked at Qin Feiyang. Asking him to be tortured? Anyway, it's not like I can't use the sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Mu Qing's eyes lit up when she heard this. That's right. If you're not strong enough, you can use the sovereign divine weapon to make up for it. Little guy, you want to challenge me? Wait. I'll make sure you don't even have a place to cry. You don't dare? Seeing that Mu Qing was silent for a long time, Zhao Hong sneered. Indeed, I don't dare. I don't have enough ability. Mu Qing shook her head and sighed. Huh, Zhao Hong laughed loudly. It seemed that he had found the right target. Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf. He had long heard of Li Feng's strength. Even Jiang Yunshuang and Ryuko were no match for them, let alone him. So he chose Mu Qing. Although Mu Qing had the all-seeing eye, the aura she revealed wasn't very strong. At first, he was still a little nervous. Was this person pretending to be weak? But now, hearing Mu Qing admit it personally, he couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Indeed. No matter what he did, he needed brains. As long as he had brains, even if he wasn't confident, he could find an opportunity. And now, Mu Qing didn't dare to accept the challenge. That was undoubtedly the time for him to hold his head high. Chapter 4081. He's really lucky. Wang Feng and the others looked at the arrogant Zhao Hong and felt extremely unbalanced. They really didn't expect this. A person with the all-seeing eye was actually so weak that he didn't even dare to accept Zhao Hong's challenge. How boring. The owner of the all-seeing eye only has this much ability. Zhao Hong shook his head and turned around to leave. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other as the corners of their mouths kept twitching. Putting everything else aside, Zhao Hong was truly better than anyone else when it came to acting tough. Seeing this scene, the great sage also had a trace of a smile on his face. Although Zhao Hong's actions were a bit despicable, it was still quite enjoyable to see Qin Feiyang and the others suffer. However, at this moment, Mu Qing lifted the corner of his mouth and said, "Although I'm not strong enough, I still want to try. After all, he's a prodigy of Mount Supreme. I still have to give him some face. Brothers, don't you agree?" "Yes." "Lunatic, white-eyed wolf." Li Feng nodded. "What?" Zhao Hong's body stiffened as he slowly turned around to look at Mu Qing. The great sage's eyelids also twitched. Could it be that the owner of the all-seeing eye was really pretending to be weak? Wang Feng and the others were looking forward to it. Mu Qing walked to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at Zhao Hong. He cupped his hands and said, "I hope Brother Zhao can go easy on me." Zhao Hong frowned. Is this person really that weak, or is he pretending to be weak? I can't figure him out at all. I'm going to start. Mu Qing chuckled. Hearing this, Zhao Hong immediately became alert. "Give me the Dominator Divine Weapon." Mu Qing sent a message to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He calmly thought of something. Clang! Accompanied by a loud sound, a fiery red longsword immediately appeared in front of Mu Qing. Its terrifying sharpness instantly covered the entire Mount Supreme. That's right. It was the Blaze Magic Sword. After all these years, although the Blaze Magic Sword had not been fully restored, it was almost fully restored. In his current state, if he were to fight against a sovereign divine weapon of the same level, he would definitely be slightly weaker. However, it would be easy for him to crush an ultimate intent. After all, the Raging Flames Magic Sword was an intermediate dominator weapon. However, Qin Feiyang had quite a number of sovereign divine weapons, but why did he take out this Raging Flames Devil Sword that had yet to be fully repaired? Actually, he wanted to let Mu Qing use this opportunity to establish her might in Mount Supreme and spread her name throughout the Divine Kingdom. Meanwhile. The Great Venerable's expression froze. As an expert who had grasped the will of the Great Path, he had even seen high-grade Dominator divine weapons before. Naturally, he could recognize that the Raging Flames Magic Sword was an intermediate-grade Dominator divine weapon. Furthermore, under Qin Feiyang's deliberate arrangement, the Raging Flames Magic Sword directly appeared in front of Mu Qing. And all these years, the Raging Flames Magic Sword had been repairing its body in the land of origin and had never appeared in the world. Therefore, no one in the Divine Kingdom knew that Qin Feiyang had an intermediate-grade Dominator divine weapon. They also didn't know that the Raging Flames Magic Sword belonged to Qin Feiyang. So when they saw the Raging Flames Magic Sword appear in front of Mu Qing, they naturally thought that Mu Qing was the owner of the Raging Flames Magic Sword. This shocked the Great Venerable quite a bit. Because even in the Divine Kingdom, intermediate-grade Dominator divine weapons were rare. Anyone who had an intermediate-grade Dominator divine weapon must have an extraordinary background. Not only the Great Venerable, even the human race's Supremes and the other 9 Supremes who were secretly watching were also shocked. If even these big shots were like this, then there was no need to mention the others in Mount Supreme. Whether it was Wang Feng and the other prodigies, or the enforcers of Mount Supreme, they were all shocked. Especially Zhao Hong. His face was filled with disbelief. He actually has an intermediate-grade Dominator divine weapon? What kind of joke is this? I'm coming. Mu Qing grinned at Zhao Hong, grabbed the Raging Flames Magic Sword, and charged towards Zhao Hong with an earth-shattering sharpness. You're shameless. Zhao Hong shuddered, and immediately roared as he turned around and ran. Shameless? I don't think it's said that I can't use a Dominator divine weapon. Mu Qing's face was filled with mockery. With a clang, the Raging Flames Magic Sword flew out of his hand and turned into a bolt of lightning. It instantly caught up to Zhao Hong, who was running away. Accompanied by a scream, a fist-sized bloody hole appeared on Zhao Hong's lower abdomen. The Raging Flame's magic sword aura turned into a sword dragon and pierced through Zhao Hong's lower abdomen, causing blood to flow out. With his energy reserve shattered, it was useless no matter how strong he was. That's it? Mu Qing's eyes were filled with disdain as he stepped forward and kicked. Zhao Hong howled in pain as he smashed into the mountains below like a blood-stained meteorite. But it wasn't over yet. Mu Qing grabbed the Raging Flame's magic sword and stepped onto the ground below, stomping towards Zhao Hong's head. Zhao Hong's head was instantly crushed, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Have mercy. Everything happened too quickly. The Great Supremacy quickly came back to his senses and shouted. Mu Qing turned a deaf ear to him. The Raging Flame's magic sword in his hand surged out and slashed towards Zhao Hong's divine soul. No, Zhao Hong screamed in fear. The Great Supremacy also quickly rushed down to stop him. But at the same time, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and stood in front of the Great Venerable. What are you doing? The Great Supremacy said angrily. When Zhao Hong challenged me, he didn't say anything about stopping. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The madman, the white-eyed wolf, and Li Feng looked at each other with a playful smile on their faces. Since he dared to challenge them, he had to pay the price. Hearing this, the Great Supremacy's face darkened. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, if the Great Supremacy is confident that you can defeat me, you can do it. While they were talking, the Raging Flame's magic sword had already arrived. Great Supremacy, save me, Zhao Hong roared in despair. The next moment, his divine soul shattered in the void, leaving behind a headless corpse dripping with blood. Looking at this scene, the Great Supremacy was furious to the extreme. But Qin Feiyang and the others didn't care at all, with a faint smile on their faces. This was the deterrence of strength. If it was before, Qin Feiyang hadn't comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, and hadn't grasped the will of the heavenly Tao. Facing a powerhouse like the Great Supremacy, he could only be cautious. But now. So what if you're a Great Supremacy? So what if you're a human supremacy? If you dare to make a move, I'll kill you. Mount Supreme's prodigy, Mu Qing wiped the bloodstains on the Raging Flame's magic sword and chuckled, you're just a so-so. As his voice fell, he stepped into the sky and looked down at the entire Mount Supreme. Which other prodigy wants to challenge me? His voice wasn't loud, but it shook the entire Mount Supreme. Not a single disciple dared to make a sound, their eyes were filled with fear. Even Wang Feng and the other prodigies didn't dare to make a sound. You've gone too far by killing our Mount Supreme's prodigy. Lord Supreme, please bring out our Mount Supreme's sovereign divine weapon. The angry shouts of the various supremacies sounded from all directions of Mount Supreme. Qin Feiyang looked around and said with a faint smile, fellow supremacies, you're all so murderous. You were the ones who killed our Mount Supreme's prodigy first, and now you're saying that we're murderous? The various supremacies were furious. What can we do? Zhao Hong asked for it. Of course, if you insist on attacking, we won't stop you. However, let me give you a piece of advice. Think twice before you act. After all, Mount Supreme is the sacred land of the human race. If you're not careful, you might be razed to the ground by us. That would be a huge sin. Madman snickered. Without the Divine Kingdom's sovereign divine weapon, they were just that fearless. If you want to fight, I'll fight you anytime. The various supremacies were furious. What kind of advice? This was obviously a blatant threat to them. As a human venerable one, you're only good at talking. Mu Qing smiled in disdain and looked around. He said proudly, remember my name, the owner of the all-seeing eye, Mu Qing. Mu Qing, everyone murmured. Without a doubt, this name would be imprinted in the minds of everyone in Mount Supreme. Great supremacies, bring them over. At this moment, the human supremacy's voice sounded. Yes. The Great Supremacy suppressed his killing intent and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. Please. The group of people immediately followed the Great Supremacies and flew deeper into the mountain under everyone's gazes. As for the flame magic sword, it was once again sent to the land of origin to repair its body. Mu Qin, all-seeing eye, this group of people is really terrifying. After entering our Mount Supreme, they didn't hold back at all. Instead, they killed Zhao Hong in front of the Supremacies and the 10 Supremacies. Zhao Hong is a true genius who has mastered 2 ultimate mysteries. Even the Supremacies praised him and said that his future was limitless. I didn't expect him to die in the hands of these people. As soon as Qin Feiyang and the others left, the place immediately exploded. Everyone's face was filled with shock. Wang Feng and the others looked at each other. There was also an indescribable fear in their hearts. Although they deliberately provoked Zhao Hong, they never thought that Mu Qin would directly kill him. Because in their opinion, no matter how bold Qin Feiyang and the others were, they should have restrained themselves after coming to Mount Supreme. But in the end, it was completely different. Even if the Great Supremacies were present, they couldn't stop the killing intent of this group of people. In the depths, a 10,000-foot tall mountain stood among the mountains like a king. At the top of the mountain, there was an ancient hall that looked extremely simple. In front of the hall, there was a square. At this moment, the Great Supremacies led Qin Feiyang and the others to the square. There was no one around, but there was an aura coming from the hall. It was the aura of the human Supremacies. Come in. The voice of the human Supremacies sounded in the hall. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and followed behind the Great Supremacies. The hall was also extremely simple. It was impossible to tell that this was the place where the human Supremacies lived. At this moment, the human Supremacies sat on the side of the hall alone with a tea table in front of them. The tea was already brewed. The tea fragrance filled the entire hall. Qin Feiyang smelled the tea fragrance and his eyes immediately lit up. This was the smell of divine tea. The human Supremacies raised his head and looked at the Great Supremacies with a smile. You go out first and close the door. I want to talk to them alone. How can you? The Great Supremacies hurriedly said with a face full of worry. One had to know. The current Qin Feiyang completely had the ability to kill a Supremacies. It's okay. The human Supremacies smiled. Chapter 4082. All right. The Great Supremacy nodded, bowed, and retreated to the main hall, closing the door. Please sit. The human race Supremacy looked at Qin Feiyang and the other 4 and pointed at the wooden stools beside the tea table. The 5 of them sat down. Qin Feiyang and the human race Supremacy sat opposite each other. The frenzy, white-eyed wolf, Li Feng, and Mu Qin sat on either side of Qin Feiyang. Sometimes, there were hidden mysteries in the seats they sat in. If it was any other time, or when friends gathered, they could sit however they wanted without any rules. But at this time, there had to be a hierarchy. Of course. The hierarchy here didn't represent the difference in status. In other words, Qin Feiyang sat in the middle, facing the human race Supremacy, but it didn't mean that he was superior to the frenzy and the others. Because to Qin Feiyang and the others, no matter how strong or weak you were, they were all friends and partners, and their status was the same. And at this moment, the so-called hierarchy actually represented the candidate to negotiate with the human race Supremacy. Among the 5, Qin Feiyang was more meticulous, so Qin Feiyang was the leader to negotiate with the human race Supremacy. And the main negotiator had to face the other party face to face to show respect to the other party. Of course. The frenzy, white-eyed wolf, Mu Qin, and Li Feng weren't easy to deal with, and they definitely had the ability to negotiate. However, whether it was in the past or now, as long as Qin Feiyang was present, they couldn't be bothered to waste their energy and gave Qin Feiyang full authority to deal with it. You guys are really impressive, giving us a show of strength as soon as you came to Mount Supreme. The human race supremacy shook his head as he poured 5 cups of tea and pushed them in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. The white-eyed wolf looked at the teacup with disdain, then took out a jar of unparalleled divine wine and said to the frenzy and the others, "Do you guys want it?" "Yes." The 3 nodded. The white-eyed wolf took out another 3 people and threw them to them. Then, the 4 of them began to drink leisurely. They didn't even spare a glance at the divine tea in the teacups, which made the human supremes feel rather awkward. However, when he saw Qin Feiyang pick up the teacup and taste it with an experienced look, he felt a lot better. Finally, there was someone who knew what was good for them. But he didn't know. It wasn't that white-eyed wolf and the others didn't know what was good for them. It was that they weren't interested in tea at all. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded in satisfaction. This kind of divine tea was refreshing, making one feel as if they were standing under a cool sea breeze, leaving a rich aftertaste. It seems that little brother is really a tea lover. The supreme being of the human race chuckled. He had thought that Qin Feiyang was pretending. "I don't have any other hobbies. I just like this." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. After tasting it for a while, he said, "Senior, this time it wasn't us who deliberately wanted to show off. It was your Supreme Mountain's disciples who were too blind. It was indeed Zhao Hong who provoked us first. But, you killed him just like that. How would our Supreme Mountain face the world in the future?" The human supremes shook his head and sighed. "You naturally have to pay the price for doing something wrong. This is the rule," Qin Feiyang said. "Then what about your actions in the Divine Kingdom? Looting the spirit veins and crystal veins of 51 cities, breaking into the Divine Island, and greatly damaging the divine race's vitality. Isn't this a mistake?" The human supremes asked. If the Divine Kingdom didn't invade the Sky Cloud realm, would these things still happen? This is the so-called karma. The Divine Kingdom committed a heinous crime in the Sky Cloud realm. Our Sky Cloud realm came to collect the debt. Is this a mistake? Qin Feiyang chuckled. The 4 of them looked at each other. The smell of gunpowder had already appeared. "Young man, you really have a glib tongue." The human supremes smiled bitterly. No. What this junior said is the truth. No matter what we did in the Divine Kingdom, you have no right to blame us. Because this is the evil karma that you planted with your own hands. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although he didn't witness the Divine Kingdom's first invasion of the Sky Cloud realm, it wasn't hard to imagine how tragic the battle was from what the Little Rabbit, Feather Emperor, and others said. These were all the sins committed by the Divine Kingdom. Blood for blood, everyone understood the principle of blood. Frankly speaking, his current attitude towards the Divine Kingdom was already very benevolent. If it was someone else with his strength, they would definitely massacre the Divine Kingdom. Evil karma, the human supremes murmured and couldn't help but sigh. In the past, he didn't feel anything because he wasn't from the Sky Cloud realm. But now, seeing Qin Feiyang and others break into the Divine Kingdom and make the Divine Kingdom face the crisis of the Sky Cloud realm back then, he realized that in the past, the Divine Kingdom had indeed caused too much damage to the Sky Cloud realm. Qin Feiyang put down the teacup and said with a smile, "Please forgive this junior for saying something offensive. Although you are the human supremes, your awareness is far from enough." Hearing this, a trace of suspicion crawled on the face of the human supremes. Whether it is the Divine Kingdom or the Sky Cloud realm, as long as one is a human, they belong to the human race. But as the human supremes, not only did you not protect them, you even helped the evildoers to harm them. May I ask, are you really competent as the human supremes? Are you worthy of the title of the human supremes? Qin Feiyang asked again and again, leaving the human supreme speechless. My ancestor, the human emperor. Like you, he was the leader of the human race of the Sky Cloud realm. Although I have not seen him with my own eyes, I am sure that if it were him, he would never harm the human race of the divine kingdom. Not to mention the human emperor, just my ancestor, Qin Batian. How much did he sacrifice for the world in his life? If you have the chance in the future, you can go to the Great Qin, the Forgotten Continent, and the ancient world to see how the people of these places praise him. No. Not only the human race, but the other races also respect him. This is a person who truly cares for the world. Maybe now you see me desperately protecting the sky cloud realm and think that I am very great, but in fact, compared to my ancestor, I am nothing. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said it lightly, but in the ears of the human supremes, it was like a bolt from the blue. Thinking back to what he had done in the past, he was indeed ashamed of the title of the human supremes. A true human supremes should have no boundaries, no distinction between worlds, and could protect all the humans in the world. Let's get back to the topic. Why did you ask us to come to Mount Supreme? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. It could be seen that the human supreme's faith had been shaken, but this kind of thing could not be rushed. He had to be given a time to adapt. Heard. The human supremes took a deep breath and sincerely begged, I hope that you can leave the divine kingdom. Leave the divine kingdom? Madman and the others were stunned. What kind of joke was this? They had come here after a narrow escape, how could they leave just like that? Qin Feiyang took a sip of tea and chuckled, do you think it is possible? Impossible. The human supremes smiled bitterly. If it was him, he would not leave the divine kingdom so easily. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He put down the teacup and looked at the human supreme seriously. You want us to leave the divine kingdom because you are worried that we will destroy the divine kingdom. Actually, I have a better proposal here. What proposal? The human supremes was suspicious. Join forces with us and get rid of the divine kingdom's ruler. Qin Feiyang said. Without hiding anything. His words were filled with killing intent. What? The human supremes suddenly stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. The target of this group of people was actually the divine kingdom's ruler. Qin Feiyang said, at this point, I will not hide it from you. Our purpose in coming to the divine kingdom is to destroy the divine kingdom. Destroy the divine kingdom. The human supremes was shocked. That's right. Destroy the divine kingdom. In other words, destroy this world. Make the divine kingdom disappear from this world. Qin Feiyang said. You, the human supremes, was extremely shocked. Destroying the divine kingdom was even more shocking than killing the ruler. Because killing the ruler, even if it was successful, only one person would die. But destroying the divine kingdom was destroying the entire world and all the living beings here. Everything would turn into dust. But to be honest, I really can't bear to destroy all the living beings in the divine kingdom, so I set my sights on the divine kingdom's ruler. After all, there is a good saying, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. At the same time, I also think highly of you. If you are willing to cooperate with us, when we get rid of the divine kingdom's ruler, this world will be under your control. As the ruler of the divine kingdom, you will be able to rebuild the order of the divine kingdom. At that time, the grudges between the divine kingdom and the sky cloud realm will not only be buried, but also become partners that help and support each other. Compared to killing each other, isn't this better? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. This information was too huge for the human supremes. Waves were rolling in his heart, unable to calm down. Killing the ruler, he didn't even dare to think about such a thing. After a long time, he calmed down and asked, why do you think so highly of me? Because of the power of faith. As the ruler of the divine kingdom, even he didn't get the power of faith. Instead, you, a human, got the faith of the living beings of the divine kingdom. Why is that? This is because you are indeed a person who sincerely cares about the common people. Having you rule the divine kingdom, I think it should be a blessing for the living beings of the divine kingdom. Qin Feiyang smiled. You also know about the power of faith? The human supremes were surprised. I know a little. I believe you should also know that I have an independent world. Maybe soon, I will also be able to control the power of faith. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The Black Tortoise realm was no secret in the Sky Cloud realm. Therefore, people like Jiang Yunshuang and Ryuko had already inquired about it in the Black Tortoise realm. I have indeed heard of your Black Tortoise realm. The human supremes nodded. Qin Feiyang said, let me add one more thing. If this continues, I'm afraid we won't need to do anything. You, the human supremes, may die in the hands of the ruler of the divine kingdom. Die in the hands of the ruler? The human supremes were stunned. Madman and the other three also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. The human supremes was the subordinate of the divine kingdom's ruler. He was loyal and powerful. How could the ruler of the divine kingdom attack him? This was a bit unreasonable. Chapter 4083. Qin Feiyang glanced at the madman and the others before looking at the human race supreme being. I'm not trying to scare you. The reason why I dare to say this is because I have proof. What proof? The human race supreme being frowned. It's still the power of faith. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The power of faith, the human race supreme being murmured. The madman and the others were also pondering. Suddenly, the madman's eyes lit up as he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I think I already understand what you mean. I remember that the young man said that the power of faith will become stronger and stronger until it can even threaten the ruler. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the human race supreme being with a smile. Although you have the power of faith now, you might not understand the power of faith as well as we do. The human race supreme being became more and more confused. He really didn't know that it could threaten the ruler. If the living beings of the world are compared to water, then this world is a boat. The water can carry the boat, but it can also overturn it. The faith and will of the living beings of the world can support this world, but it can also overturn this world. Think about it, with the personality of the divine kingdom's ruler, will he allow such a thing to happen? I can tell him with certainty that he won't. He hasn't done anything to you now because the power of faith you have hasn't reached the point where it can threaten him. Furthermore, you are very strong. For now, you still have a lot of value. But if one day he discovers that you have become a threat to him, he will definitely get rid of you at the first moment. Qin Feiyang said. The human race supreme being's pupils contracted. Of course. You will definitely say that you are not afraid of death. But have you ever thought that after you die, the divine kingdom's ruler will choose a new leader of the human race? Can you guarantee that this new leader will treat the living beings of the world well? If he really treats the living beings of the world well, then that's fine. But if he is a tyrant, then it will definitely be a scene of misery and suffering. Senior, can you bear to see this happen? Qin Feiyang closed in step by step, causing the hearts of the human race's supremes to be in a mess. Now that you've won the trust and faith of all the living beings in the world, you should stand up and do something for them. Even if the chances are slim, we should still try to fight for it. This is what a true human paragon should be like. Qin Feiyang sighed. The supreme master of the human clan lowered his head in silence. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything else. Madman and the other three were also silent. Inside the hall, green smoke rose from the teapot on the tea table, and the hall gradually fell into a dead silence. Several hundred breaths passed. Seeing that the supreme being of the human clan had yet to speak, Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, You don't have to be in a hurry. You can take your time to think about it. This time, I have come here to ask you about another matter. Although there was a famous saying to strike while the iron was hot, sometimes, when faced with some things, one really could not be impatient. Wasn't there another famous saying? Haste makes waste. The supreme being of the human clan took a deep breath, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and asked, What is it? Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing. Mu Qing waved his hand, and the top of a giant mountain appeared in the void beside him. There was a tea garden on the top of the mountain, and it was full of divine tea trees. This was the place where Ji Shaoi was found by him using the all-seeing eye. Looking at this place, the pupils of the supreme being of the human clan immediately shrank. This vision was clearly captured by Qin Feiyang and the others, and they thought that it must be an extremely terrifying place. After all, even the supreme being of the human clan seemed to be afraid of it. How did you know about this place? The supreme being of the human clan asked. This is the scene that Mu Qing saw when he checked Ji Shaoi's whereabouts with the all-seeing eye. Qin Feiyang did not hide it. The supreme being of the human clan looked at Mu Qing and exclaimed, "The all-seeing eye is indeed extraordinary, but you'd better not go to this place." Why? The five of them were suspicious. Because this is a place that even the divine king and I don't dare to set foot in. The supreme being of the human clan had a serious expression. Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. If even the supreme being of the human clan and the divine king didn't dare to set foot in this place, then how dangerous was it? Qin Feiyang, not good. Suddenly, Mu Qing's eyes trembled. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at him in shock. Mu Qing said in a deep voice, "The divine king and the king are bringing people to Mount Supreme." He had been using the all-seeing eye to spy on the whereabouts of the king and the divine king. At this moment, the two giants were gathering the experts of their clans and preparing to rush to Mount Supreme. How did they know that we were at Mount Supreme? Li Feng frowned. The God race and the purple gold divine dragon clan have spies all over the divine kingdom. Mu Qing killed Zhao Hong at Mount Supreme. How could such a big commotion be hidden from them? A cold light flashed in the mad scientist's eyes. Then what do we do now? Li Feng was worried. Retreat. The mad scientist immediately stood up. Mu Qing, the white-eyed wolf and Li Feng also stood up. All-seeing eye, the supreme being of the human clan looked at Mu Qing. Another powerful opponent. No. In a sense, Mu Qing was more terrifying than Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang and the others were terrifying because they killed enemies. In other words, they were terrifying on the battlefield. But outside the battlefield, Mu Qing was a bigger threat. Qin Feiyang asked, "Senior, one last question. What is the strongest battle soul that Ji Shaoi, Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue have? You can even find out the battle souls of Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. Do you still need to ask me?" The supreme being of the human clan shook his head. "Don't be so stubborn, okay? If you are afraid of the ruler, there is no need to do so now. Because the ruler has already left the divine kingdom." The mad scientist frowned. The ruler has already left the divine kingdom? The supreme being of the human clan was surprised. Nonsense. If he still left the divine kingdom, would we dare to openly discuss this with you? The mad scientist rolled his eyes. Then where is he now? The supreme being of the human clan asked. Nether King Hell. He shouldn't be able to return in 10,000 years. The white-eyed wolf laughed coldly. The supreme being of the human clan was shocked. No wonder this group of people became so unscrupulous. It turned out that the ruler had already left the divine kingdom. However, why did the ruler leave the divine kingdom? The danger that Qin Feiyang and the others brought to the divine kingdom was obvious to all. Even if the ruler was being held back by the ice dragon and the heaven-devouring beast, he should have stayed in the divine kingdom to pay attention to the situation. Suddenly, his body shook. That's right. The ice dragon and the heaven-devouring beast. The ruler's departure was most likely out of his own will. The mad scientist looked at the supreme being of the human clan and was about to speak. Qin Feiyang reached out his hand to stop the mad scientist and smiled. Then, Senior, please think about it carefully. This junior and the others will take our leave. Saying so, he looked at Li Feng. Li Feng understood and opened a space-time tunnel. The group of 5 quickly left. Not long after they left, accompanied by powerful auras, the ruler and the divine king's group arrived. Without any hesitation, his divine sense enveloped Mount Supreme. But in the end, they couldn't find any trace of Qin Feiyang's group. Divine King, ruler, come in and talk. The voice of the supreme being of the human clan sounded in the main hall, and the tightly shut door slowly opened. The ruler and the supreme being looked at each other and immediately entered the main hall, disappearing. Heavenly Lord Ji and the other powerhouses stayed outside and talked with the various sovereigns of Mount Supreme. Qingtian's city. Outside the city. The mad scientist said angrily, "We didn't find anything, this trip was completely in vain." It wasn't in vain. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "What do you mean?" The mad scientist frowned. "Didn't you notice? The supreme being of the human clan has begun to waver. Now, we just need an opportunity." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "What kind of opportunity do we need?" The mad scientist was suspicious. "This is possible. We still need the ruler of the divine kingdom to help us. If the ruler of the divine kingdom really does something to him, it is equivalent to forcing him to rebel. And I believe that this day will come sooner or later." Qin Feiyang chuckled. If what the young man said is true, then the supreme being of the human clan will indeed be killed sooner or later. At that time, we can take the opportunity to save him. Then, wouldn't we be able to make the supreme being of the human clan our partner? The white-eyed wolf laughed. The mad scientist pondered for a while and nodded. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang said, "Now, let's split up." Split up? Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. Senior brother, white-eyed wolf, immediately go to the North Continent and find a way to find out about Ji Shaoi's battle soul and where he is now. But remember, don't be impulsive. Wait for us. Qin Feiyang reminded. Okay. The mad scientist nodded and asked suspiciously, "But what are you going to do?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Find a chance to meet the divine king and see if we can complete the deal." When the mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf heard this, they immediately looked forward to it. If they could complete the deal, then they would be able to obtain the inheritance of the three ultimate profound laws. Then be careful. The ingrate warned before turning around and tearing through the sky like a bolt of lightning with madman. After watching the two leave, Qin Feiyang turned to Mu Qing and said with a smile, "Now, I will have to trouble you to spy on the whereabouts of the divine king and the mad scientist." "Leave it to me." Mu Qing smiled. After the all-seeing eye evolved, she had become more confident than before. Chapter 4084. Late at night. It was extremely quiet in the mountains. Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were both sitting cross-legged on the ground. Below them was a time formation. This was the time law of 5,000 years in a day, and it was personally set up by Qin Feiyang. Now that he had grasped the ultimate meaning of the time law, he could naturally set up a time formation. Don't say. Setting up a time formation with his own hands still gave him a sense of accomplishment. Suddenly, Mu Qing's eyes flashed, and she turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng, who were resting with their eyes closed, and said, "The divine king and the king have already left Mount Supreme." The two opened their eyes one after another. Li Feng looked up at the waning moon in the night sky and frowned. They actually stayed at Mount Supreme for an entire day. They can't be plotting something, right? I don't know if they are plotting anything. But one thing is certain, the king and the divine king must have already heard about the ruler leaving the divine kingdom from the human sovereign. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and turned to Mu Qing. "Where did the divine king go?" "Straight back to the island of gods. The king has also returned to the North Continent. The human sovereign is still at Mount Supreme." Mu Qing said. "All right. Li Feng, let's go to the island of gods now." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The island of gods. Like a giant beast, it floated in the night sky, making people feel intimidated. In a hall, the Divine King and the 10 sovereigns of the god race were gathered here. The Divine King looked at the 10 sovereigns and said, "I gathered you here in the middle of the night because I have a few things to discuss with you." The 10 sovereigns were silent, waiting for him to continue. "Today, I discussed a lot of issues with the Divine Kingdom and the human sovereign at Mount Supreme. One of the most serious issues is that the ruler of the Divine Kingdom has already left the Divine Kingdom." The Divine King said. "What?" The 10 venerables immediately fell into chaos. The Divine King raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "You are one of the 10 great venerables of the god race, second only to one and above all. How can you be so flustered? What is this?" "My lord, it's not our fault. The Creator is the pillar of the Divine Kingdom. Now that the pillar has left, how can we not panic?" The God Clan Great Venerable sighed. "I can understand. That's why I'm telling you in advance so that you can be mentally prepared. From now on, the situation in the Divine Kingdom will definitely become more serious. Because without the sovereign, Qin Feiyang and the others will be even more unbridled." The Divine King clenched his fists, his eyes filled with hatred. "Where is the sovereign now? When will he return?" The 10 reverends of the God Clan asked. "Hades, hell. I believe all of you have heard of this place." The Divine King said. "I've heard of it. Back then, Ji and Hai led a group of people to kill their way into hell. The Blood Demon King used the power of his entire clan to stop him. In the end, both sides suffered great losses." The Great Venerables nodded. "Hades is a continent in the lower realm of the Sky Cloud realm. The sovereign's presence in Hades must have something to do with the ice dragon and the heaven-devouring beast. In other words, it will be difficult for the sovereign to return to the Divine Kingdom within 10,000 years." The Divine King sighed. The Great Venerable asked doubtfully, "How did you know about this?" Qin Feiyang was the one who told the human race supremes about this. And this Qin Feiyang, the killing intent in the Divine King's eyes intensified as he said this. That person by Qin Feiyang's side called Mu Qing has already stolen Jiang Zishan's all-seeing eye. All of this was seen by Mu Qing with the all-seeing eye. Bastard. The 10 great venerables were furious. If Jiang Zishan's all-seeing eye had been stolen, then Jiang Yunshuang and Jiang Xing's eye of life and eye of evil must have been stolen as well. Compared to anger, we should be more afraid now. Eye of heaven, eye of despair, all-seeing eye, eye of evil, eye of life. Now, the Sky Cloud realm already has the 5 strongest battle souls, and they have all evolved successfully. It's not an exaggeration to say that if these 5 people join forces, let alone encircle them, I'm afraid even tracking their whereabouts will be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The Divine King let out a long sigh, feeling powerless. Hearing this, the 10 great venerables also fell silent. Yes. Back then, only Qin Feiyang and the demon ancestor were so difficult to deal with, let alone now, there were 3 more people with the strongest battle souls. And now, the sovereign was not here. Was the Divine Kingdom really going to decline? They were unwilling. If the entire Sky Cloud realm had invaded the Divine Kingdom, they could still accept it. But now, it was just a few young people. A few young people had shaken the foundation of the entire Divine Kingdom. Just thinking about it made them feel ridiculous. The Divine King took a deep breath, looked at the 10 great venerables, and said, "So the second thing I want to ask you, are we still going to rescue Jiang Yunshuang and the others?" "Of course." The 10 great venerables said without hesitation. Because he was Jiang Yunshuang's great-grandfather. Jiang Yunshuang was also the most outstanding young person in his lineage. However, the other 9 great venerables were silent. "What are you doing?" Although Shuang Er's battle soul has been taken away, her talent is still there. As long as she is nurtured well, in time, she will be able to master the will of heaven. Moreover, Shuang Er usually treats you with respect, and you should know in your heart how filial she is. Now that she is in trouble, are you just going to watch her die? The 10 venerables glared at the other 9 great venerables. One of the venerables sighed and said, "We don't deny Jiang Yunshuang's talent, but without the strongest fighting soul, his achievements will be limited." Old 8, your words are too heartless. What do you mean by limited achievements? Back then, when you were young, you didn't have the strongest fighting soul, but didn't you still enjoy the resources and treatment that others dreamed of? The 10 venerables said furiously. The 8th venerable lord glanced at the 10th venerable lord and lowered his head in silence. Actually, the most important thing is still the inheritance of the ultimate profound. If you want to rescue the 3 of them, you'll have to exchange for the inheritance of 3 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. 3 legacies, this is not something that ordinary resources can compare to. The God Clan Great Venerable shook his head. I admit it. But now, Shuang has mastered the ultimate profundity of the 3 ultimate laws. Jiang Xing and Jiang Zishan also mastered 2 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. Could it be that his talent is still not comparable to the 3 successions? No matter what, I won't give up on saving them. If you don't save them, I'll think of a way myself. The attitude of the 10 venerables was very firm. What can you do? The Divine King looked at him. I don't know yet, but there will always be a way. The 10th venerable lord said in a deep voice. Boom! But at this moment, a rumbling sound rang out in the sky. Who's there? Immediately after, a shout rang out. The Divine King and the 10 venerables looked at each other and immediately walked out of the main hall. They saw that there was a big hole in the barrier in the sky above. An enforcer stood in the sky and scanned the surroundings. In his hand, he was holding a piece of paper. What's going on? The Divine King asked. The enforcer landed in front of the Divine King and the others and said respectfully, Lord Divine King, someone blasted open the barrier earlier, but this person disappeared too quickly. I didn't see his face clearly, but I found a letter. After saying that, he bowed and handed the letter to the Divine King. The Divine King took the letter and opened it. There was a line of words written on it. 3 days later, in the middle of the night, please go to the 1000 Phoenix Mountain alone for a chat, Divine King. Who's so bold? One of the venerables frowned. Do you still need to think? It must be Qin Feiyang and those little bastards. The Divine King clenched his 5 fingers and the letter was torn to pieces. His eyes were extremely gloomy. It was simply too arrogant to come and go as they pleased in the sacred land of the god race. The 10 venerables' expressions were also extremely ugly. They had never seen such an arrogant person. You can leave. The Divine King looked at the enforcer and said. The enforcer bowed and left. The Deity King looked at the 10 reverends and said in a deep voice, they want me to go to the 1000 Phoenix Mountain alone. It should be to exchange for Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2. Now, make your stand. Will you save them or not? We must save them. The 10 venerables said. The venerables of the god race looked at the 10 venerables and sighed. Save them. Otherwise, the people below will probably talk about us behind our backs and say that we're cold-blooded and heartless. The other 8 venerables looked at each other and sighed helplessly. If they didn't save them, they might really be cursed in the future. Since all of you have agreed, I'll send a message to the king and the supremes of the human race now and ask them for the inheritance of the laws. The Divine King took a deep breath and entered the main hall. 3 days later. Late at night. The 1000 Phoenix Mountain was a steep mountain range in the west of the South Continent. The ferocious beasts there were very powerful. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to set foot there. But at this moment, a figure descended on the mountain peak like a ghost and couldn't be captured. Where is he? Is he playing with me? It was a woman with a hint of anger in her tone. It was the Divine King. At the same time, outside the mountain range, in a dense forest, 3 young men stood side by side. How is it? The leader asked. It was Qin Feiyang. Mu Qing smiled and said, "The king, the supremes of the human race, Heavenly Lord Ji and the venerables of the other races are all hiding in the Divine King's space divine item. They know that we have the all-seeing eye, but they still did such a childish thing. Don't you think it's funny?" Li Feng sneered. "They're betting that we'll let our guard down. If we're careless and don't use the all-seeing eye, won't we fall into their trap?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "If that's the case, then they've underestimated us." Li Feng's face was full of disdain. "Since the Divine King doesn't listen to us, then let's teach him a lesson. Let's go to the Divine Island." A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. If he didn't teach these people a lesson, they wouldn't remember. Boom! Soon. With a loud rumbling sound, the Divine Island floating in the night sky was torn apart. There weren't many casualties among the god race. Soon. The Divine King and the others received the news. Damned little bastard. The Divine King and the 10 venerables of the god race were instantly enraged. "I told you that it's impossible to encircle them now." The supremes of the human race sighed. They didn't hurt the god race, nor did they take away the spirit vein or the crystal vein. They only destroyed the Divine Island. Seems like they're warning us. The king also shook his head and smiled wryly. He looked at the Divine King and said, "Let's deal with them honestly." Then, he opened a passage and left with Heavenly Lord Ji and the others. The supremes of the human race also returned to the West Continent with the overlords of the human race. At the top of the mountain, the supremes of the human race pulled a long face. The 10 venerables clenched their fists and tried to control their anger. Chapter 4085. What's wrong with you all? You all look so pale. Tell us, who provoked you, we'll help you vent your anger. Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out, and 3 figures descended on the mountain peak. It was Qin Feiyang and the other 2. The one who spoke was Li Feng. With the appearance of the 3, the Divine King and the 10 venerables of the God clan immediately glared at each other. "Why are you still glaring at us? We didn't provoke you." Mu Qing looked at the group of people with a mocking look. The Divine King said angrily, "You dare to say that what happened on the island before has nothing to do with you? What happened on the island before? Why didn't we receive any news?" Mu Qing looked at Li Feng and asked. "I don't know." Li Feng shook his head. The Divine King's face was livid. How dare he play dumb in front of her? Okay. No matter what, they are also seniors. As juniors, we can't be so rude. Qin Feiyang raised his hand to stop the 2 of them. He looked at the Divine King and the 10 honorable ones and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, these 2 brothers of mine are not very sensible. I apologize to the seniors on their behalf. Cut the crap. Let's make a deal." The Divine King suppressed the anger in his heart. Straightforward. Qin Feiyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2 appeared. However, at this moment, the 3 of them were in a coma. Because their Qi was destroyed, they couldn't sense any cultivation aura on their bodies. This was naturally deliberately done by Qin Feiyang and the other 2. In this way, they could cover up the fact that their laws were stolen. However, to be honest, at this moment, they were still a little nervous. After all, the Divine King and the 10 venerables were all old and shrewd people. They weren't so easy to fool. "What did you do to them?" the 10 venerables said angrily. Not only did they stink, but they also couldn't sense their cultivation. "Well, when I asked them to hand over their fighting souls, they were unwilling to cooperate, so I destroyed their sea of qi and suppressed them in the soul-sealing valley." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Do you still have any humanity left?" The 10 venerables were so angry that they almost vomited blood. He also knew about Soul Seal Valley. The news that Ryuko, Jiang Chen, and the others had been suppressed in the soul-sealing valley had long spread throughout the divine kingdom. For a prodigy like Jiang Yunshuang, being suppressed in the soul-sealing valley was more painful than death, let alone losing face. Human nature? Humph. When you invaded the sky cloud realm, why didn't you reflect on yourselves? Do you have any humanity? Cut the crap. If you want to trade, then hurry up. If you don't want to trade, then I'll kill them now. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. He was more than happy to bicker with these people. Because bickering could distract these people's attention. As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, Li Feng waved his hand, and the space-time law rolled out, enveloping Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. The three's lives were hanging by a thread. This was also discussed in advance, not giving the Divine King and the others time to think. In other words, using the lives of Jiang Yunshuang and the other two to force the Divine King and the others to quickly complete the trade. Sure enough. Seeing Li Feng's move, the Divine King and the 10 venerables' faces changed. The Divine King immediately took out 3 palm-sized iron boxes. Qin Feiyang said playfully, "Don't tell me that these are all the inheritances of the ultimate meaning of the death law. It seems that the inheritances given to you by the ruler last time were very unsatisfactory." The Divine King sneered. At first, it was indeed unpleasant. But in the end, we were quite satisfied. Qin Feiyang and the other two had a hint of ridicule at the corner of their mouths. The Divine King frowned. "What does that mean?" "You will understand in the future." Qin Feiyang chuckled and said casually, "Open the boxes and let us take a look." The Divine King waved his hand and the 3 iron boxes opened. The aura of the 3 laws instantly surged out like a tidal wave. The law of death, the law of destruction, and the law of devour. Looking at these 3 inheritances, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. It seems that the Divine King and the others really didn't have many inheritances of the ultimate meaning. Otherwise, they would have been given the same inheritances as last time. Give them the people. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Feng and smiled. Li Feng waved his hand and the unconscious Jiang Yunshuang and the other two immediately flew towards the Divine King and the 10 venerables. The Divine King also waved his hand. The 3 iron boxes turned into streaks of light and flew towards Qin Feiyang and the others. To be honest, the Divine King and the 10 venerables didn't dare to play any tricks at the moment. Because the monarch and the human supremes had left with their people, the Divine King and the 10 venerables couldn't fight with the current Qin Feiyang at all. Making an honest deal was the wisest choice. With the 3 inheritances in hand, Qin Feiyang's lips curled into a smile. Li Feng and Mu Qin looked at each other with bright smiles on their faces. It went smoother than expected. On the other side, the 10 venerables also immediately protected Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. The 10 venerables looked at the injuries on Jiang Yunshuang's body and felt distressed. They immediately activated the law of life and streams of majestic life energy immediately flowed into the 3's bodies. The 3's injuries immediately healed at a visible speed. The ultimate meaning of the law of life. Qin Feiyang stared at the 10 venerables with glittering eyes. Compared to other ultimate laws, the law of life was even rarer. Because the law of life not only had extremely strong killing power, but also had amazing healing abilities. It could be said that, as long as one mastered the ultimate meaning of the law of life, there would be no need for elixirs in the future. Qin Dage, should we kill them? Li Feng looked at Jiang Yunshuang and the other two, who were gradually getting better and about to wake up, and asked telepathically. We've already made the arrangements in advance. Do you think we should kill them or not? Qin Feiyang snickered secretly. As long as it was a hidden danger, it had to be eliminated. Because with Jiang Yunshuang's character, once the tiger returned to the mountain, he would definitely think of ways to take revenge in the future. He didn't want to be remembered like this forever. At this moment, Jiang Yunshuang and the other two's eyelids twitched, and then they opened their eyes one after another. Great-grandfather, Lord Divine King, the three looked at the Divine King and the others with a trace of joy on their faces. But then, they got up with a venomous look. Great-grandfather, Lord Divine King, you must seek justice for us. Qin Feiyang and the others not only took away our battle souls, but also our ultimate meaning. Jiang Yunshuang roared. What? Hearing this, the Divine King and the 10 Venerables' expressions changed, and they immediately turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Don't get me wrong, they did it willingly. Qin Feiyang smiled calmly. Yes. Ultimate profound meanings can only be extracted from them if they are willing. If they don't want to, it's useless for us to force them. Li Feng chuckled. The Divine King and the 10 Venerables frowned. What he said made sense. We didn't do it willingly. They forced us to do it. Jiang Xing roared and told them one by one about how the white-eyed wolf, Li Feng, and Mu Qing had forced them to do it. You damn bastards, you're too shameless. We're irreconcilable. The 10 Venerables stared at Qin Feiyang and the other two and roared like thunder, their eyes full of killing intent. Irreconcilable, the three of them looked at each other, and a thought-provoking smile appeared on their faces. The Divine King was also very angry, but suddenly, a trace of surprise appeared on her face. The transaction had been completed, so why didn't Qin Feiyang and the other two leave? Could it be, not good? Let's go. She roared and immediately swept up a group of people, activated the moment of time, turned around, and flew away. As expected of the Divine King. She reacted so quickly. Qin Feiyang whispered. But he didn't chase after them and just watched the Divine King escape with a group of people. Mu Qing and Li Feng's faces were also full of ridicule. With Qin Feiyang's character, would he give them a chance to escape? What's going on? They didn't chase after us? Am I thinking too much? The Divine King was shocked. But suddenly, a terrifying aura burst out from the mountains and rivers around them. The Divine King and the others were startled. They hurriedly looked up and saw many people flashing out from the mountains and rivers around them with destructive energy. And these people's appearances were exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. 3,000 clones. The Grand Venerables of the God race exclaimed. Qin Feiyang, what are you doing? The Divine King was furious. Nothing serious. I just want to kill Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The Divine King was immediately enraged and shouted, You've already taken away their battle souls and ultimate arcana, and you still want to kill them? Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, and Mu Qing surrounded them step by step. He shook his head and sighed. Speaking of which, it's actually your Dominator's fault. The Dominator? The Divine King was shocked. How did this have anything to do with the Dominator? If he hadn't tricked us and given us more than a dozen identical inheritances, we wouldn't have come to kill Jiang Yunshuang and the other two. Qin Feiyang sighed. What do you mean? The Divine King was confused. It was impossible to escape. The 3,000 clones had already surrounded them aggressively. Even though she and the 10 Venerables were present, they didn't have the courage to fight head-on. The only people in the entire Divine Kingdom who could compete with Qin Feiyang were the purple-gold Divine Dragons. Because only the purple-gold Divine Dragons had 3,000 clones. I can't tell you this because it will affect my future plans. I'll give you a chance now. Kill Jiang Yunshuang and the other two and I'll let you go. Qin Feiyang smiled. Plans? The Divine King's eyes trembled. What plans did this person have? Don't even think about it. The 10 Venerables roared. Boom! The 6 ultimate mysteries were activated, and the will of heavenly Tao erupted. You're overestimating yourself. One of the clones sneered and activated the ultimate mysteries of life and death. As the will of heavenly Tao erupted, it immediately crushed over. Poof! The 10 Venerables' body and mind trembled as they spurted blood. Their faces were filled with horror. Was this the power of the life law? It was indeed invincible. However, the god race wasn't that easy to bully. Boom! The furious 10 venerables took a step forward, and the mark of the god race between their eyebrows erupted with dazzling divine light. The ultimate mysteries of the 6 ultimate laws reappeared. Under the double blessing of the will of heavenly Tao and the mark of the god race, the lethality was almost close to the ultimate mysteries of life and death. But in the end, it was still a little lacking. The mark of the god race was comparable to the root of all evil. The root of all evil was inferior to the law of life and death. The mark of the god race was naturally inferior to the law of life and death. He couldn't even defeat one of Qin Feiyang's clones. What else could he do? Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, the 10 venerables was once again seriously injured by the clones. Fortunately, he had mastered the law of life, otherwise he would have fallen to the ground. Chapter 4086. The 1,000 Phoenix Mountain had already collapsed. Terrifying battle waves roared in all directions. The mountains and rivers in all directions were crazily shattered, as if it was the end of the world. In the sky, the wind howled. The 10 sovereigns half knelt in the void, blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. The divine king and the other 9 sovereigns' expressions were extremely grave. Jiang Yunshuang was even more so. The strength that Qin Feiyang had displayed now far surpassed what he had displayed in the sky cloud boundary. In the past, she still had the courage to fight. But now, looking at Qin Feiyang, only fear was left in her heart. The atmosphere was extremely solemn. The 3,000 incarnations, Li Feng and Mu Qin, exuded a murderous aura. Only Qin Feiyang was as calm as ever. But this calmness made the divine king and the others even more afraid. One last thing. Kill them and I'll spare your lives. Qin Feiyang said. You've gone too far. The divine king was furious. Wasn't it the same as humiliating them to kill the juniors of their clan? Although Jiang Yunshuang and the other two's battle souls and ultimate ultimacies had been taken away, their talents were still there, and they had exchanged 3 inheritances for them. If they really killed them, wouldn't it be a double loss? You won't listen when I talk to you nicely? Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly turned cold. Boom! Accompanied by a terrifying aura, the 3,000 incarnations activated the ultimate ultimacies of the law of life and death at the same time. The 3,000 kingdoms of life and death were like 3,000 worlds descending. Coupled with the will of the heavenly path, they exuded a divine power that could destroy heaven and earth. The divine king was just about to attack when he saw the 3,000 kingdoms of life and death appear. An uncontrollable fear emerged in his heart. The 10 sovereigns and Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2 were also terrified. Was this Qin Feiyang's current strength? Even if they all attacked together and awakened the high-grade sovereign divine weapon, it would be meaningless. Although the divine master and the 10 sovereigns all had the will of the heavenly path and the god clan's mark, they only had slightly more than 60 ultimate ultimacies. How many times was the difference between 60 and 3,000 ultimacies? This was a one-sided situation. Not good. The monarch and the sovereign of the human race have returned. But at this moment, Mu Qing's pupils shrank as she turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Upon hearing this, Qin Feiyang's brows furrowed slightly as he swept his gaze toward the 3,000 clones. Kill! The 3,000 clones understood and roared at the same time. The 3,000 kingdoms of life and death immediately attacked the divine king and the others with a terrifying power. Everyone, hold on! The divine king roared. With a wave of his hand, he sent Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2 into the spatial divine item. She also heard Mu Qing's words. As long as they could hold on until the monarch and the supremes of the human race arrived, the crisis would naturally be resolved. He's really going to protect them with his life. Qin Feiyang narrowed his eyes slightly. The more the divine king acted like this, the more he wanted to kill Jiang Yunshuang and the others. Boom! After sending Jiang Yunshuang and the others into the spatial divine item, the Divine King and the 10 sovereigns activated their ultimate intents. Just like the monarch, the Divine King also grasped the ultimate intents of the 7 ultimate laws. The 10 sovereigns grasped the ultimate intents of the 6 ultimate laws. With a total of 67 ultimate intents, together with the mark of the God race and the will of the heavens, they could sweep through everything. However, 67 ultimate intents seemed insignificant in front of the 3,000 kingdoms of life and death. Boom! With a series of earth-shattering explosions, the 67 ultimate intents of the Divine King and the others instantly collapsed like a piece of dead wood. The 3,000 kingdoms of life and death charged forward. Clang! At this critical moment, a treasure mirror appeared. This item was about the size of a cattail leaf fan. The frame was as white as jade, and there was a divine dragon on the left and a divine phoenix on the right. The shape of the mirror was like a long and narrow eye. Divine light flashed and illuminated the sky. The Dragon Phoenix Treasure Realm. This was the Divine King's high-grade sovereign weapon. Boom! A terrifying aura of a ruler of Tao burst out of his body and protected the godly emperor and the 10 martial highnesses like a surging tide. He indeed has a high-grade sovereign weapon. Mu Qing's and Li Feng's pupils contracted. Although Li Feng's current strength wasn't bad, he didn't dare to act rashly in front of a high-grade sovereign weapon. This was because a high-grade sovereign weapon was comparable to 100 low-grade sovereign weapons, which meant that it was equivalent to 100 ultimate intents of the ultimate laws. It could be said that, without the 3,000 clones, even Qin Feiyang, who grasped the ultimate intents of the law of life and death, wouldn't dare to fight against a high-grade sovereign weapon. Therefore, one couldn't underestimate the power of a high-grade sovereign weapon just because Qin Feiyang had the ability to crush it. In short, as long as they didn't encounter the 3,000 clones, the high-grade sovereign weapon was invincible. However, at this moment, the misfortune of the Divine King and the others was already decided. Not only did Qin Feiyang have 3,000 clones, but he also grasped the ultimate intents of the law of life and death. Boom! The 3,000 kingdoms of life and death charged forward. Kacha! Along with a shattering sound, the Dragon Phoenix mirror shattered into pieces on the spot, completely unable to resist. The 10 supremacies' expressions changed, and they immediately activated the law of life. However, even the law of life, which had reached the ultimate intents, couldn't save their lives. Accompanied by a series of screams, the bodies of the Divine King and the 10 supremacies were shattered one after another. Kacha! Another shattering sound rang out, and a spatial divine item appeared from the shattered body of the Divine King. It was directly shattered by the 3,000 realms of life and death. Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2 fell out of it in a sorry state. Right now, they were only at the lesser and greater mastery sovereign realm. How could they resist the 3,000 realms of life and death? In just an instant, accompanied by desperate screams, the 3 were completely destroyed. Not even a strand of hair was left. Shuang. The 10 supremacies' divine souls roared, their teeth bared and their eyes cracked. The Divine King and the other 9 supremacies were also burning with anger. But at the same time, there was also a deep sense of helplessness in their hearts. With the current Qin Feiyang, not to mention the prodigies of the younger generation, even people of the older generation like them did not have the power to fight back. Have mercy. In the blink of an eye. At this moment, space-time tunnels appeared one after another. The monarch and the human race supremacy shouted at the same time from the space-time tunnels. Qin Feiyang glanced at the space-time tunnels with a faint smile in his eyes. He turned to Li Feng and said, "Let's go." Li Feng immediately opened a space-time tunnel. The 3 turned and walked in without looking back. The 3,000 clones also collapsed, but the 3,000 realms of life and death didn't disappear. They attacked the Divine King and the 10 supremacies' divine souls. Just as the three left, the monarch and the others appeared from the space-time tunnel. Seeing the Divine King and the others' situation, the monarch and the human race supremacy's expressions changed. Swoosh! Without hesitation, the monarch and Heavenly Lord Ji activated the 3,000 clones. The human race supremacy also activated the power of faith. The rest of the human race and the purple gold divine dragon race powerhouses also attacked. In the end, although they successfully protected the Divine King and the 10 supremacy's divine souls, the monarch and the other powerhouses were also fatally injured. The group of people fled the battlefield at lightning speed. They turned around and looked at the 1,000 Phoenix Mountain that had become a chaotic zone, their faces full of fear. It was too terrifying. Now, with just Qin Feiyang's power alone, he could destroy the entire god race. The human race supremacy looked at the Divine King and the 10 supremacy's divine souls and sighed. Fortunately, we decided to return at the last minute. Otherwise, it would have been disastrous. Yes. If we had been one step later, the Divine King and the 10 supremacies would have died without a doubt. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. Is that really the case? The monarch whispered. What do you mean? Heavenly Lord Ji and the others looked at the monarch in confusion. In my opinion, Qin Feiyang didn't intend to kill the Divine King and the 10 supremacies at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given us a chance to rescue the Divine King. The monarch said. The human race supremacy looked at the monarch and then at the Divine King and the others' divine souls. He nodded and said, I think so too. He was already merciful. When everyone heard this, they could not help frowning. He was merciful to the Divine King and the 10 supremacies. What was Qin Feiyang planning? The Divine King and the 10 supremacies' injuries were too serious. Even though their divine souls were saved, they were already unconscious. The monarch and the human race supremacy discussed for a while and asked Heavenly Lord Ji and the others to escort the Divine King and the 10 supremacies' divine souls to the island. After the group left, only the monarch and the human race supremacy were left. Supremacy. Do you think they have the potential to do so in the future? The monarch asked. I don't know. The human race supremacy shook his head. Sigh. It's really confusing. Although Qin Feiyang has shown great potential and strength, he still has to face the dominator of the Divine Kingdom in the future. It's really too risky to bet on him now. The monarch sighed. It would be fine if he won the bet. But if he lost, not only the purple gold divine tribe but also the entire human race in the Divine Kingdom would be wiped out. It would be too easy for the dominator of the Divine Kingdom to destroy them. Let's wait and see. At least for now, they haven't started a massacre in the Divine Kingdom. Besides, don't forget about the Central Dynasty. Although the Dominator isn't here and you're the Dominator of the Divine Kingdom in name, if the people of the Central Dynasty show up, even you, the monarch, have to listen to their orders. Besides, apart from the Central Dynasty, there are also the Beast Race and the Sea Race. You and I both know how loyal the Sea Race and the Beast Race are to the Dominator, and their strength can't be underestimated. The human race supremacy was worried. The future situation was worrying. The Sea Race, the Beast Race, the Central Dynasty, the monarch murmured. The human race supremacy's meaning was quite obvious. Before he had full confidence, he couldn't make a decision easily. Otherwise, it would bring disaster to his race. Qingtian City. In the mountains outside the city. Great. Mu Qing couldn't stop laughing. Not only did they kill Jiang Yunshuang and the other two, but they also successfully obtained 3 inheritances. Now they could go to Longqin and unlock the seals of the 3 iron boxes. Li Feng was also full of smiles. But suddenly, he frowned slightly, looked at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing, and asked, what if Longqin doesn't admit it? After all, he didn't see us killing Jiang Yunshuang and the other two with his own eyes. Chapter 4087. Don't worry, I've already prepared. Mu Qing chuckled and took out a divine sound transmission stone from her bosom. Huh? Li Feng was stunned and asked, You've already recorded it? Of course. Just in case. Mu Qing nodded. And you have foresight. Li Feng was impressed. Compared to these people, there was still a gap. Because at that time, he didn't think about it at all. Mu Qing smiled and said, Why don't we go to Longqin now and help you unlock the seals of the 3 iron boxes? This, Li Feng pondered for a while and shook his head. I'd better wait a little longer and help Brother Crazy and Brother Wolf unlock the seals first. Because Crazy only lacked 3 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. White-eyed Wolf only lacked 2 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. If he helped them unlock the seals first, they could directly master the will of heaven. As for Li Feng, he only mastered 2 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws, namely the space-time law and the time law. So even if he unlocked the seals of the 3 iron boxes, he couldn't master the will of heaven. That's true. At present, what we need the most is a powerhouse who can master the will of heaven. Mu Qing nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and handed the 3 inheritances to Mu Qing. For me? Mu Qing was stunned. Yes. Mu Tianyang already has 6 ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws, so it's naturally your turn next. You can integrate these 3 inheritances first, and we'll slowly think of a way for the remaining 3. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Thank you. Mu Qing took the 3 inheritances. These 3 inheritances were the destruction law, the death law, and the devour law. As long as he integrated these 3 inheritances, even without the will of heaven, he would be able to fight against the heaven's pride of the divine kingdom in the future without the help of the flame magic sword. But you'll have to wait a little longer for the integration. Qin Feiyang said. I understand. We still have to meet up with the madman and the white-eyed wolf. Mu Qing nodded and smiled. She put away the 3 inheritances and immediately activated her all-seeing eye to check the whereabouts of the mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf. Very soon. He could see where the 2 of them were at the moment, but the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. What is it? Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were suspicious. Mu Qing said, They are actually drinking in a restaurant. Ugh. Li Feng was stunned. Didn't he ask them to gather information? Why did he go to a restaurant? If they are in a restaurant, then it means that they are not slacking off, because restaurants are the best place to gather information. Let's just wait for the good news. Qin Feiyang smiled and led the 2 into the Black Tortoise world. In the blink of an eye. Thousands of years passed in the Black Tortoise world. But in the outside world, only 1 day had passed. Boom! On this day. Suddenly, a terrifying aura erupted from the Devil's Land. Auspicious clouds rolled over and shrouded the sky. A wave of heavenly Tao pressure roared in all directions. This is, Qin Feiyang walked out of the ancient castle and looked at the sky in surprise. The will of heavenly Tao. When he closed his eyes and released his perception, he soon found the person who had broken through. It was Longqin. At this moment, Longqin was sitting cross-legged under a tree of creation in the herb field. His expression was extremely serene, and his body was surrounded by the power of the 6 strongest laws. They were the death law, space-time law, time law, cause and effect law, destruction law, and the last strongest law was the nothingness law. Swish. Soon. The will of heavenly Tao descended and went straight to Longqin. It was also at this moment that Longqin opened his eyes and looked at the descending will of heavenly Tao, his eyes full of joy. It turns out to be this woman. Li Feng and Mu Qing also walked out. Sensing Longqin's aura, their eyes were full of envy. There is no hurry. It's only a matter of time before you guys do it. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, swept up the 2 of them, and instantly landed beside Longqin. At this moment, The will of heavenly Tao had already integrated into Longqin's body, and the auspicious clouds were gradually dissipating. Congratulations. Qin Feiyang chuckled. For them, it was naturally a joyous thing that Longqin had mastered the will of heavenly Tao, because this meant that their overall strength had increased by a large margin. It's a matter of course, there's nothing to congratulate. Longqin waved his hand, got up, and patted the dust off his clothes, but the pride in his expression was clearly visible. Li Feng pursed his lips and looked at Longqin, saying, "Your brother should be there soon." Him? When Longqin heard this, he said proudly, "It's still too early for him." In the past, when we asked him to integrate the inheritance, he looked disdainful, saying that he had to rely on himself to comprehend. In the end, when I integrated 4 inheritances, he didn't even comprehend one ultimate meaning. This attitude of yours won't do. Your brother wants to comprehend it himself because he has ambition. Li Feng despised him. Can ambition feed you? Moreover, didn't he still choose to integrate the inheritances now? You people are courting death for no reason. You don't want a ready-made one and insist on showing off. Longqin snorted coldly. Hey, hey, hey. Just talk about your brother, don't drag us into it, okay? Mu Qing's face darkened. I'm giving you face by talking about you. I can't be bothered to talk about ordinary people. Longqin raised his head, looking insufferably arrogant, making Mu Qing feel helpless. If it was in the past, if Longqin showed such an attitude, no one would feel comfortable in their hearts. But now, instead, they felt that it was a little cute. Let me show you something. Mu Qing took out the divine voice transmission stone and displayed the scene of Jiang Yunshuang and the other 2 in the void in front of them. You guys are so fast. Longqin was dumbfounded. She originally planned to deal with Jiang Yunshuang personally after she came out of seclusion. If we don't act quickly, how can we show our sincerity? Can you help us unlock the seals of the 3 iron boxes now? Li Feng asked with a smile. Longqin heard this and looked at Li Feng with a trace of playfulness in her eyes. Li Feng's eyelids twitched and he hurriedly said, "A man of character keeps his word. Don't go back on your words." "I'm a little girl," Longqin said in a teasing tone. The corners of Li Feng's mouth twitched. Did a woman have the right to go back on her words? Cough, cough. Brother, haven't you heard of this saying? In this world, only women and villains are difficult to deal with. Mu Qing patted Li Feng's shoulder and said meaningfully. Sigh. Li Feng sighed. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. This saying was indeed true. Qin Feiyang did not say anything about this matter. He would wait until he met the white-eyed wolf and the lunatic and let them settle it themselves. Perhaps, when the white-eyed wolf made a move, there would be an unexpected effect. Buzz. Suddenly, the divine sound transmission stone rang. Qin Feiyang was stunned and quickly took out the divine sound transmission stone. The phantoms of the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf immediately appeared. This damn woman is also here? The white-eyed wolf looked at Longqin in surprise. Who are you scolding? Scold me again if you dare. Longqin stared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. I'm scolding you. What can you do? The white-eyed wolf bared its teeth, looking provocative. Wait and see. Longqin gritted her teeth. She was already thinking about how to teach this wolf cub a lesson later. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf playfully. This guy still didn't know that Longqin had already mastered the will of heaven. When they meet later, there will definitely be a good show to watch. The white-eyed wolf also noticed Qin Feiyang's strange eyes and couldn't help but have an uneasy premonition. How's the investigation? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. With us taking action, is there anything we can't handle? The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly and said, we have already inquired clearly. Ji Shaoi's battle soul is the eye of destiny. We have also investigated Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue's battle souls. Lu Zhongtian has the Eye of Destruction, and Zhuang Mingyue has the Eye of Oblivion. Eye of Destiny, Eye of Destruction, Eye of Oblivion, Qin Feiyang murmured. On their side, the Eye of Oblivion was Lin Yi. The Eye of Destruction was Lu Zhengyang. Now, Lin Yi and Lu Zhengyang weren't in the Divine Kingdom. If they wanted to snatch them, they would have to capture Zhuang Mingyue and Lu Zhongtian and bring them back to the Sky Cloud realm. Did you find out who owns the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness? Qin Feiyang asked. Of the 10 strongest battle souls, 8 of them had already appeared. Only the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness were still missing. We have also inquired. But there is no information about the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness. So we guessed that the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness might not be in the Divine Kingdom. Madman said. Not in the Divine Kingdom? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and frowned. Could it be in the Sky Cloud realm? But we have been in the Sky Cloud realm all these years and have never heard of anyone possessing the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness. I don't know. Anyway, at present, there is no news about the Eye of Reincarnation and the Eye of Nothingness in the Divine Kingdom. Madman shook his head. Then let's ignore these 2 battle souls for the time being. Have you inquired about where Ji Shaoyi is now? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Madman nodded. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, Give me the coordinates, we will meet up with you immediately. North Continent. At this time. It was noon. The scorching sun was in the sky. In the west, there was an extremely remote mountain range. Here, the mountains were towering and the vegetation was vigorous. Around the mountain range, there were many small villages. The people who lived here were no different from ordinary mortals. Deep in the mountain range. On a mountain peak. 2 young men, with their auras restrained, stood beside a big tree like ghosts, looking at a village not far ahead. These 2 were really Madman and White-Eyed Wolf. Swish. About a few breaths later. A space-time passage appeared behind the 2 of them. The 2 of them turned their heads and saw Qin Feiyang and the other 3 walking out of the space-time passage. Damn wolf cub. Long Qin immediately stared at the White-Eyed Wolf unkindly. Stop fooling around. The White-Eyed Wolf hurriedly reached out to stop him and said in a deep voice, The target is in front, don't let them find out. Long Qin was stunned and looked up at the village in front of him. Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, and Mu Qing also looked up. When they saw the full appearance of the village, they could not help but be stunned. There were a total of 10 households in the village, formed by small inconspicuous wooden buildings, looking more backward than ordinary small villages. This was too ordinary. I'll let you go first, you bastard. Long Qin stared at the White-Eyed Wolf and scanned the village, frowning. This place looks very ordinary on the surface, but in fact, it is extraordinary everywhere. You have good observation skills. The White-Eyed Wolf laughed. Chapter 4088. Although the village was ordinary, there was not a single beast around the village. There were only some birds, butterflies, bees, rabbits, and other small animals. Above the village, one could faintly sense the aura of the power of laws. There was even the aura of a time array. Moreover, the vegetation in this mountain range was exuding an abnormally exuberant vitality. It was as if there was a spring of life here. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Qin and asked, Use your battle soul to take a look. Okay. Long Qin nodded, her eyes emitting wisps of divine light. When she activated her battle soul and looked at the village again, a trace of shock appeared on her face. The time array that had merged with the earth was revealed. What was even more terrifying was the sky above the village was filled with an invisible force. This was formed by the power of the strongest laws. According to her analysis, these power of laws had all reached the level of ultimate meaning. Moreover, deep underground in the village, she also saw many spirit veins and crystal veins. These spirit veins and crystal veins were all top grade. Just imagine. If it was an ordinary village, how could there be such things? We have already come to observe earlier. There are a total of 15 old people here. The madman whispered. 15 old people? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. That's right. The people living here are either old men or old women. Other than Ji Shaoyi, there isn't even a young man. The madman said. There isn't even a young man. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered and said with a smile, it seems that this should be the place where the 15 old people live in seclusion. The white-eyed wolf suddenly asked, since Ji Shaoyi is here, it means that these old people are related to the purple gold divine dragon clan. Do you feel the intimacy of blood being thicker than water here? I really don't. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then this is strange. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Qin Feiyang looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf suspiciously and asked, you didn't hear the origin of these people? No. We went to ask the people of the other villages nearby. But we heard that these 15 old people usually never leave the village and never communicate with the people of other villages, so we are not very familiar with them. The madman shook his head. So mysterious. Li Feng's eyes were filled with curiosity. Not only is it mysterious, but it must be terrifying. Otherwise, the human race's supreme would not have advised us not to come here. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Then, should we go or not? The white-eyed wolf asked. Of course. And I'm going to do it openly. Because no matter how close we are, we will not be able to go. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. With a single step, he appeared 1,000 miles away. Li, and madman, Li, at the same time. At this moment, all the elders in the village raised their heads and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. They came really fast. An old man with white hair chuckled. This is the ability of the all-seeing eye. No matter where Ji Shaoyi is hiding, they will be able to track him immediately. An old woman laughed hoarsely, then looked away and continued to wash clothes by the river. The other old people also continued to drink tea, chat, play chess, or fish. It was a peaceful and harmonious scene. Swish. Soon. Qin Feiyang and the others came to the sky above the village and landed on the other side of the river in front of the village. The river was 5 or 6 meters wide. On the opposite bank of the river, an old man was sitting on a small stool, fishing quietly. Not far away, an old lady washing clothes also kept her head down, as if she didn't see Qin Feiyang and the others. Everyone was busy with their own things. What do you mean? Do you think we are air? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Don't worry. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and stood quietly by the river, watching all of this. At the top of the back mountain. In the tea garden. Master Ji Jiao was pruning the tea trees as usual. Next to him was a young man in purple. This man was about 25 or 26 years old. He was tall and straight and had an extraordinary appearance. But at this moment, there was a trace of nervousness on his well-defined face, and he glanced at the other side of the river in front of the village from time to time. Are you scared? Master Ji Jiao asked with a smile without looking back. Ji Shaoyi was stunned and immediately scratched his head awkwardly. You don't have to feel embarrassed. If I were you, I would be scared too. After all, they are all people who can kill you. But you don't have to worry about us at all. Master Ji Jiao smiled faintly, full of confidence in his words. Hearing this, Ji Shaoyi's nervous heart finally calmed down. Time passed by little by little. In the sky above the village, smoke also rose. The aroma of food came to the nose. People who don't know and see all this will really think that this is an ordinary small village. The white-eyed wolf muttered. Isn't this the life we have always been looking forward to? Like the clouds and wild cranes, carefree. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Don't talk nonsense. This is what you aspire to, not what we aspire to. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Isn't it boring to live like this? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. In a person's life, there were nothing more than two choices. One was to live a vigorous life, and the other was to live a plain life. Many people would choose the former. They thought that if they didn't live a vigorous life, wouldn't they have come to the human world in vain? However, Qin Feiyang preferred the latter. Plain life was a blessing. Of course. Everyone had a different understanding of life and life. Qin Feiyang's idea didn't represent everyone's idea. Splash. The old man on the other side suddenly became spirited. He grabbed a fishing rod and pulled hard. A big fish about half a meter long immediately floated out of the water, setting off waves. As expected, there are distinguished guests. I've never caught such a big fish here before, the old man said with a smile. He carried the fish ashore and shouted, "Old woman, hurry up and clean it up. Let these guests have a taste." An old woman came out of the village. Seeing the big fish she caught, she also beamed with joy. The old man finally looked at Qin Feiyang and the others on the opposite side and said with an apologetic smile, "Gentlemen, I'm sorry for the neglect. Senior, you don't have to be so polite. On the other hand, we juniors have taken the liberty to come and disturb the quiet cultivation of the various seniors." Qin Feiyang also cupped his hands and smiled apologetically. Seeing Qin Feiyang's attitude, whether it was the old man standing on the opposite side of the river or the other old men sitting in the village drinking tea and playing chess, they all admired him. He was neither arrogant nor impetuous. He was humble and polite. This was a very good first impression. Haha. Don't talk about meditation. We are just a group of ordinary old men. The old man on the other side of the river smiled hoarsely and said, "If you don't mind, please come to the village and have a taste of the fish. Deference is no substitute for deference." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. Then he led Mu Qing and the others across the river and landed beside the old man. "Please." The old man chuckled, showing his hospitality. "Sorry to disturb you." Qin Feiyang smiled and followed the old man to the village. He glanced around and said with a smile, "Seniors, you really know how to enjoy life." "I can't help it. I'm old. If I don't hide, I will definitely be despised by you young people." The old man shook his head and smiled. "Don't say that. Isn't there an old proverb? An old man in the family is like a treasure." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Young man, you really know how to talk." The old man laughed heartily. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "I have yet to ask for Senior's name. I wonder if you can tell me?" "Just call me Ji Lauer," the old man said casually. During the conversation, under the old man's lead, they entered the village. The other old men in the village also showed kind smiles to them. "Ji Lauer, you really need to thank these young friends. Look at you. After being here for so many years, the biggest fish you have caught was only as long as a finger. It's not enough to fill the gaps between our teeth." An old man looked at Ji Lauer and teased him. "That's right. Otherwise, how can you say that they are honored guests?" Ji Lauer chuckled. He turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang and the others, and said, "Let me introduce you all. This is my big brother. You can call him Boss Ji. The others are also our brothers. Ji Lao San, Ji Lao San. There is also an old man called Ji Lao San. He is in the tea garden at the back of the mountain. He will come back when dinner is ready. As for those old women, they are the wives of Ji Lao San, Ji Lao San, Ji Lao San, and Ji Lao San. They are cooking now. I will introduce them to you one by one at the dinner table." Ji Lauer introduced them one by one. Qin Feiyang nodded and bowed. "Greetings, elders. No need to be so polite." Boss Ji waved his hand and smiled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "May I know your name, little brother?" "I am Qin Feiyang. These are my companions." Qin Feiyang didn't hide anything. Although these people didn't seem to know them, it wasn't hard to tell from Ji Shaoi that they knew their identities. Asking them now was just a formality. Ji Laoer looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise and said, "So you are the famous Qin Feiyang. Sorry for the disrespect. Senior, you are too polite." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Boss Ji suddenly asked, "Little brother, do you know how to play chess?" "Just a little." Qin Feiyang smiled humbly. "Then how about we play a game?" Boss Ji looked at Qin Feiyang with great interest. "As long as you don't mind, I am happy to play." Qin Feiyang smiled. "It is rare for a young man to be willing to play chess with an old man like me. I am more than happy. Why would I mind? Come, come, come. Let's play a game before the dinner is ready." Boss Ji couldn't wait to clean up the messy chess pieces on the board. Qin Feiyang smiled and sat opposite Boss Ji. He helped to clean up. "This doesn't seem right." Seeing this, White-Eyed Wolf's expression was very strange. "Indeed, it doesn't seem right. It is very different from what I imagined." Li Feng nodded. He thought that there would be a fierce battle here, but he didn't expect them to be treated like guests. He didn't even feel any hostility. These old men and women couldn't be planning something in secret, right? Chapter 4089. White-Eyed Wolf and the others couldn't help but be surprised. They couldn't be careless in a place that even the supreme master of the human clan was afraid of. However, Qin Feiyang had been very calm. As the black and white pieces fell, the game between him and Boss Ji officially began. Qin Feiyang's chess skills had always been good. He started learning in the capital when he was a child and could be considered a little genius in chess. But later, after being expelled from the capital, he rarely touched the chessboard and rarely played chess with others. Because he didn't have the leisure time. Survival was a problem. Until a few years ago, when he entered the Shen village and met Shen Mulan. Although Shen Mulan's strength was not strong, in terms of chess attainment, he could be said to be the most powerful person he had ever met in his life. In those years when he played chess with Shen Mulan, he basically lost. Similarly, also because he often played chess with Shen Mulan, his chess skills were much better than before. Not long after the game started, Qin Feiyang saw the depth of Boss Ji's chess skills through the way he played chess. In terms of strength, 100,000 Shen Mulans were no match for Boss Ji. But in terms of chess skills, even 10 Boss Jis were no match for Shen Mulan. And Qin Feiyang, although at first he was defeated by Shen Mulan, later, as his chess skills improved, he often won a game. Such chess skills naturally surpassed Boss Ji's. About 100 breaths. Qin Feiyang seized the initiative and pressed on step by step, making Boss Ji feel a great pressure. Even beads of sweat could be seen on his forehead. For Boss Ji, he rarely played chess with outsiders and usually played with Ji Laoer and his brothers. Compared with Ji Laoer and his brothers, his chess skills had always been superior. And because of this, he was very confident in his chess skills. In the beginning, Qin Feiyang agreed to play chess with him, and he also thought that he would win. And in his opinion, young people nowadays were too utilitarian. How could they be proficient in chess? Even if they knew how to play chess, they only knew a little. But he never expected that Qin Feiyang's chess skills were so extraordinary that in just 100 breaths, he was defeated. Beside him, Ji Laoer and the others gathered behind Boss Ji and stared at the chessboard with a solemn expression. This young man's chess skills could simply crush them. Not only was he so talented in cultivation, but he was also so good at chess. For rookies like them, Qin Feiyang's chess skills were godlike. As for the mad scientist and the others, they had mocking expressions on their faces. If he hadn't gone to the Shen family village, Qin Feiyang's chess skills would probably be similar to Boss Ji's. But now, things were different now. Playing chess with him was simply asking for a beating. Of course. In terms of chess, Frenzy and the others were even worse. He probably wasn't even a tenth of Boss Ji. Because just like Boss Ji's view of young people nowadays, they were not interested in playing chess at all. If he had the time, he might as well have a good sleep. Another 100 breaths passed. There was a deathly silence. Boss Ji looked at Qin Feiyang, who was holding a chess piece, with a serious expression. Because this move was related to the life and death of the entire chess game. As long as the chess piece in Qin Feiyang's hand landed in a crucial position, Boss Ji's side would immediately lose. Therefore, Boss Ji was very nervous. As an elder, losing to a junior was a bit shameful for him. Looking at Qin Feiyang again. He glanced at the chessboard with a confident smile on his face. As long as he wanted to, he could immediately win. However, after glancing at Boss Ji on the opposite side, the chess piece in his hand landed in another position. Not only did this position not end the game, but it also released the suppression on Boss Ji, allowing Boss Ji's chess piece to come back to life. Even. Because of this move, Qin Feiyang's chess game, which was originally in his grasp, directly fell into a disadvantageous position. What do you mean? The mad scientist and the others looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. He could obviously kill Boss Ji in one move, but why did he let him go? Qin Feiyang didn't understand. Impossible. Such an obvious chess game, even rookies like them knew where the weak point was. How could Qin Feiyang not know? At the same time, on the opposite side, Boss Ji, Ji Lauer and the others were also stunned. What was this kid doing? A good move, how could it end up like this? Boss Ji came back to his senses and took a deep breath. Since the opportunity was sent to him, then don't blame him for not being polite. He picked up the chess pieces one by one and changed from defense to offense. After a while, because of the previous concession, Qin Feiyang lost this chess game. Ha, Boss Ji laughed from ear to ear. Old Qin, what are you doing? The mad scientist looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. He was obviously going to win, but he had to play and lose. Wasn't this stupid? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and didn't explain. He looked at Boss Ji and smiled. Senior's chess skills, this junior admires. This sentence, Boss Ji should be happy to hear. But at this moment, he couldn't be happy. He felt that there seemed to be a hidden sarcasm in these words. Actually, Qin Feiyang didn't mock him, it was just a casual polite sentence. He looked at Boss Ji and asked with a smile, why don't we play another game? Again? Boss Ji was stunned. Qin Feiyang smiled, this junior is also a person who doesn't admit defeat. This, Boss Ji hesitated. The reason for that was because Qin Feiyang had clearly gone easy on him earlier. If he played again, he was afraid that he would lose miserably. There was a good saying, stop when you're ahead, otherwise, you're asking for humiliation. Senior, don't tell me you don't have the courage. Qin Feiyang chuckled as he packed up the chess pieces. At this moment, his words were obviously filled with provocation. Even the tone of his words had become different from before, with an unconcealable sharpness. What did you say? No courage? What a joke, come on then. Boss Ji snorted coldly. Boss, forget it. Seeing this, Ji Lauer and the others hurriedly hinted to Boss Ji. But Boss Ji was very unhappy and turned a deaf ear to it. He quickly kept the chess pieces on the chessboard and said, this time, this old man will let you go first. How can an elder let a junior go first? Senior, please go first. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. All right. Boss Ji nodded and the chess piece in his hand fell. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and the chess piece in his hand also fell. Following the placement of the chess piece, an austere aura began to pervade the chessboard. Boss G's heart trembled. He felt that the current Qin Feiyang and the previous Qin Feiyang were like two different people. Not to mention anything else, just this murderous aura made him nervous. Immediately after, he picked up a chess piece and after a very serious consideration, he put it down. However, Qin Feiyang's every move was very casual, without any consideration. It was as if the entire game had been deduced in his mind. Moreover, with every chess piece that was placed, the murderous aura became stronger. So much so that after 100 breaths, the entire village was shrouded in a murderous aura. Qin Feiyang's every move at this time was also full of murderous aura. Boss G's face was extremely serious. Could this be Qin Feiyang's true way of chess? Boom! As Qin Feiyang's last chess piece fell, a gust of wind suddenly appeared and the entire chessboard was shattered on the spot. The terrifying murderous aura also rushed towards Boss G. Boss G instinctively retreated and his face turned pale. At this moment, he felt as if there were countless sharp blades flying towards him, sharp and piercing. Boss G Lauer and the others hurried forward and looked at Boss G with concern. Boss G's heart couldn't calm down for a long time. It was just a game of chess, but it made him feel as if he had gone through a bloody battle. Senior, thank you for letting me win. Qin Feiyang stood up and cupped his hands with a smile. The murderous aura that permeated the village also dissipated. Boss G looked at Qin Feiyang, took a deep breath, and asked, "You lost to me on purpose in the first game?" To this, Qin Feiyang smiled but didn't say anything. In the first game, you lost to me on purpose. In the second game, you started to kill and crush me. This is the so-called peaceful means before resorting to force. Boss G said. Qin Feiyang still smiled and didn't say anything. Peaceful means before resorting to force. Ji Lauer and the others heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang. Was this a hint for them to take the initiative to hand over Ji Shaoyi? So that's how it is. Frenzy and the others suddenly understood. It turned out that Qin Feiyang did this for another reason. What a wonderful game. Suddenly, a hoarse laugh sounded. Old Nine? Boss G and the others were taken aback and hurriedly looked up. They saw an old man with a purple-clothed youth walking over from the back mountain. Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't help but look up. The old man's aura was ethereal, and he had the demeanor of an immortal. The youth was tall and straight, and his bearing was extraordinary. As expected, this old man was Ji Jiao on the top of the mountain. The purple-clothed youth, needless to say, was Ji Shaoyi. It was the first time they saw Ji Shaoyi himself, and he looked quite temperamental. An old man and a young man landed in the village. Although Ji Jiao and the others were there, Ji Shaoyi couldn't help but feel terrified when facing Qin Feiyang and the others. Little friend, why don't we play a game? Ji Jiao walked to the table, and with a wave of his hand, the power of law spread out, and a virtual chessboard gradually emerged. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Old Qin, he is provoking you. Frenzy transmitted his voice. This person is so confident, his chess skills should be quite good. Long Qin frowned. If it was just a normal game, it wouldn't matter. But now, it was obviously an invisible contest. Boss G might even be injured when facing Qin Feiyang's attack. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered, and he cupped his hands with a smile. Yes, Master Jiao, please. Straightforward. Ji Jiao smiled hoarsely, raised his hand and pointed in the air, and a chess piece appeared on the chessboard. With the appearance of the chess piece, the chessboard suddenly turned into an Azura battlefield, as if there was a terrifying demon king staring at Qin Feiyang. This strange phenomenon was not only noticed by Qin Feiyang, but also Frenzy and the others, Boss G, and Ji Shaoyi who were watching by the side, and they instinctively took a few steps back. Their faces were extremely solemn. Chapter 4090. At the scene. Only Qin Feiyang looked as indifferent as ever. Are you here to show me who's boss? He smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, another chess piece appeared on the chessboard out of thin air. The two chess pieces stood opposite each other. It was as if the wills of Qin Feiyang and Ji Jiao were colliding, setting off a shocking wave. Sure enough, heroes come from the young. Ji Jiao chuckled. You flatter me. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Black and white chess pieces kept appearing. The two were facing each other, and their auras were rolling in all directions. This old man's chess skills are so good? Madman was surprised. Old Jiao's chess skills are much better than mine. I'm afraid that even Qin Feiyang is no match for him. Old Jiao looked at Ji Jiao with expectation in his eyes. That's not necessarily true. Madman sneered. During the conversation, the black and white chess pieces had already met for dozens of times. Qin Feiyang's chess piece was white, and Ji Jiao's chess piece was black. The two were fighting back and forth like thousands of troops and horses. It was hard to tell who was the better one. Not bad. You're the first person among the younger generation in the Divine Kingdom who can reach this level of chess skills. However, the chess game is ever-changing. You need to take every step carefully. One wrong step and you'll lose the whole game. Your weakness is that you're too aggressive. Ji Jiao glanced at the chessboard and soon found Qin Feiyang's weakness. The black chess piece was placed, and the game suddenly became one-sided. Qin Feiyang smiled without saying a word. Although he was already at a disadvantage in the game, he wasn't nervous at all. White chess pieces kept appearing one after another. At first, Ji Jiao thought that victory was already in his hands, but gradually, he seemed to have found something, and his eyes gradually became solemn. On the other hand, the smile on Qin Feiyang's face became even brighter. Boom! Hundreds of rounds passed. The game was instantly reversed. Qin Feiyang, who was originally at a disadvantage and passively defending, directly seized the initiative and launched an attack in the air. This is, Master Ji Jiao's eyes widened. On the surface, I was indeed very aggressive earlier. However, that was actually a flaw that I deliberately exposed. Furthermore, it was also a trap that I deliberately set up. In other words, earlier, when you thought that victory was within your grasp, you had already unknowingly fallen into my trap. Now, you don't even have the chance to defend yourself. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. When the white go stones were placed, the entire go board instantly turned into a dead end. A trap, Ji Jiao murmured as he scanned the chessboard. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any hope. They had been planning this from the very beginning, just waiting for this moment. He was indeed a terrifying young man. This move is called leading the wolf into the house. I learned it when I played chess with an elder. Of course. There is also a way to break it. Let's just see if Lord Jiao can find this last bit of hope in this hopeless situation. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Inviting a wolf into the house, Ji Jiao muttered. Since there was a way to break it, even if there was only a trace of hope, with his attainments in Go, he would definitely be able to find it. Who was the one who said that old Qin was no match for someone? Madman looked at Boss Ji jokingly. Boss Ji coughed dryly, his expression full of embarrassment. Who would have thought that Qin Feiyang's attainments in Go had already reached such a level? He had overestimated old Jiao. I see. It was also at this moment. Ji Jiao revealed a look of realization and said with a smile, the so-called leading the wolf into the house is simply more harmful than beneficial. Because as long as the wolf is strong enough, it can eat the person who set the trap. The black go stones appeared. The entire go board suddenly changed drastically. Ji Jiao thought that he had turned the tables, and a victorious smile almost appeared on his face. However, the next moment, he found that although the go board had changed greatly, his situation had not changed at all. Instead, it was getting more and more disadvantageous for him. It was as if the white ghost stones on the opposite side had become an inescapable net, imprisoning him inside. I forgot to tell you that the so-called chance of survival is also the gate of hell. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a white ghost stone appeared on the go board. He chuckled and said, "Inescapable net, done." At this moment, the whole go board had completely become a dead end, and there was no chance of survival. Inescapable net, Ji Jiao murmured. Looking at the whole go board, it was as if it was really an inescapable net, cutting off all his hope. Was he going to lose just like that? No. Even if it was an inescapable net, he would definitely be able to find the exit. Ji Jiao slowly closed his eyes. His mind was integrated into the whole go board. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, closed his eyes, and his mind surged. Don't you want to give this old man time to observe? Ji Jiao raised his eyebrows. Yes, because there is no unbreakable go board in the world. Qin Feiyang nodded. This was an exchange of thoughts. The whole go board turned into a vast world. The chess pieces on the chessboard turned into bright stars. Qin Feiyang and Ji Jiao's minds seemed to be in the sea of stars at this moment, standing opposite each other. What are they doing? Li Feng was surprised. Both of them closed their eyes, and it became quiet in an instant. The two of them communicated with their minds, and the onlookers couldn't hear them at all. They have entered a different state. Longqin's eyes were filled with wisps of divine light, and it was obvious that he had activated his battle soul. He frowned and said, "Their real battle has just begun." Hearing this, Boss Ji and the others looked at Longqin in surprise. How could this little girl know so clearly, as if she could see it? This kind of battle seems to be very good. In the endless sea of stars, Ji Jiao looked at Qin Feiyang opposite him and chuckled. I think so too. But since it's a battle, there should be a bet. Qin Feiyang smiled. You want a bet? Ji Jiao was stunned. Aren't you asking the obvious? Apart from Ji Shaoi's Eye of Destiny, what else can tempt me? Qin Feiyang smiled. As expected, you're here for Ji Shaoi. All right. Let this old man see if you have the ability. Ji Jiao took a step forward, and the stars in the sky shook. Ultimate Intense roared out, and a destructive aura surged toward Qin Feiyang. 6 Supreme Laws. Death Edict, Destruction Edict, Space-Time Edict, Time Edict, Nothingness Edict, and Devour Edict. Each of the Ultimate Intents contained a terrifying will of the heavenly Tao. Very strong indeed. Qin Feiyang chuckled. As soon as he finished speaking, the kingdom of life and death appeared. As the will of the heavenly Tao erupted, the world immediately trembled. This is the ultimate intent of the life and death edict, Ji Jiao murmured. Boom! The ultimate intents of the 6 supreme laws erupted like a volcano, and the power to destroy the world blasted out. No law can compete with the life and death edict. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the kingdom of life and death pressed down. Accompanied by an earth-shattering bang, the two were shattered in the starry sky. 1 against 6. This was the power of the ultimate intents of the life and death edict. Strong. Ji Jiao's eyes were solemn. Even for him, this was his first time witnessing the ultimate intents of the life and death edict. This was more than surpassing the supreme laws. It was simply crushing. However, as an existence that even the monarch was in awe of, he had more means. Boom! In just an instant, 8 ultimate profundities appeared above Master Ji Jiao's head, accompanied by terrifying auras. In addition to the 6 ultimate intents that appeared before, the other 2 ultimate intents were the life edict. The ultimate intents of the life edict turned into a divine lotus, which not only exuded a majestic life energy, but also a great divine power. However, the other ultimate intents was a law that Qin Feiyang had never seen before. It was a world of darkness and light. It was like hell and heaven, with devils on one side and angels on the other. The aura it exuded was not inferior to the ultimate intense of the space-time edict. Looking at this ultimate intense, Qin Feiyang's eyes were full of surprise. You haven't seen it before? That's true. Even if you can fuse the death and life edict, you may not be able to fuse the light and darkness edict. Ji Jiao said. The light and darkness edict? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. That's right. This is the light and darkness edict after the fusion of the light and darkness edict. Although it is not comparable to the life and death edict, after the fusion of the two ordinary light and darkness edict, it can evolve into an ultimate law. Ji Jiao waved his hand, and the 8 ultimate intents of the 8 ultimate intents charged toward Qin Feiyang with earth-shattering power. So that's how it is. The light and darkness edict can be fused. Qin Feiyang murmured. He had never heard of this before. And he had never seen it in the sky cloud realm. But thinking about it, it made sense. Although the lethality of the light and darkness edict was far less than the life and death edict, it was definitely not easy to fuse two edicts. For example, the death and life edict were both comprehended by Qin Feiyang by chance. Boom! The kingdom of life and death reappeared. The power of life and death roared like a raging wave and blasted out. Accompanied by a deafening loud noise, the kingdom of life and death shattered on the spot in the face of the 8 ultimate intents of the 8 ultimate intents. Qin Feiyang, who was standing in front of the chessboard, immediately overflowed with purple gold dragon blood from the corner of his mouth. What? Old Qin is actually injured? Seeing this scene, Frenzy exclaimed. White-eyed Wolf, Li Feng, Long Qin, and Mu Qing also had a look of disbelief. With Qin Feiyang's current strength, how could he not be a match for Ji Jiao? What's going on? Boss Ji and the others looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. However, looking at the purple gold dragon blood at the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth, their hearts were also incomparably complicated. This was the descendant of the little girl of the divine kingdom in the sky cloud realm. The descendants of the purple gold divine dragon clan couldn't be compared at all. In the world of consciousness, the battle was still ongoing. After the 8 ultimate intents shattered the kingdom of life and death, they aggressively rushed toward Qin Feiyang. It seems that the greatest limit of the ultimate intents of the life and death edict is to fight 1 against 6. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Compared to the nervous Frenzy and the others, he was as if nothing had happened. 1 against 6, still not satisfied? Ji Jiao frowned. Of course I'm satisfied. However, if that's all you've got, then you should admit defeat as soon as possible. Qin Feiyang smiled. Is that so? Then let this old man see your true strength. Ji Jiao's face revealed a look of anticipation. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.